is truth in journalism, where brave men and women gave voice to the voiceless. But then the corporations bought the journalist, poisoning the news that we are fed. With those tainted sources, all we ever ate was a steady diet of status quo. This hijacked narrative hid the truth of mass suffering, injustice, and corruption throughout our land. Status quo, status quo, status quo, status quo. To expose this shift to oligarchy came a band of honest journalists. They left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. From sea to sea, the people were empowered to share their truth. Their voices no longer stifled, reclaimed their power. Join the media revolution now.
Hey there, Jordan Sheridan, live Sunday, August 9th, 2020, right here in the United Corporations of America. This is Status Coup. Hope you could see me, hear me. Hope everybody's healthy in these tough times, both physically and mentally. It's going to be a good show today. A bit of a marathon, I guess you could say. I'm ready to go. Have a great guest joining me. Steve Grumbine from Real Progressives. Let me make sure. I don't know if I forgot to turn. Oh, I didn't. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, Steve, give it a test run. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
How we doing?
I think we're good. So I wanted to have you on because I think even though we cannot physically get into theaters in America right now, I think we are living through one giant, terrible play. And between the Republican douchebaggery, between the Democrat enabling of that douchebaggery, in reality, we have all of the money in the world to pour into now fallen off a cliff economy, but we have back and forth theater going on that to me makes very little sense. Before we get to it, I want to just remind people, I'm going to play a clip from our friend Alan Greenspan. I need to raise my volume. Hold on. 1, 2, 1, 2. Let me know if my volume is okay now. 1, 2, 1, 2. I turned up my mic, so should be good. I want to play a clip from Alan Greenspan, former Federal Reserve Chair, explaining kind of how money works and how taxes work and these kind of things, because I don't particularly think people realize that we're all being lied to. Hold on.
Making a future retiree benefits more secure for their retirement? And also, do you believe that personal retirement accounts as a component to a system of solvency does help improve solvency? Because when you have a personal retirement account policy, it's accompanied with a benefit offset. With that feature in place, do you believe that personal retirement accounts can help us achieve solvency for the system and make those future retiree benefits more secure?
Well, I wouldn't say that the pay-as-you-go benefits are insecure in the sense that there's nothing to prevent the federal government from creating as much money as it wants and paying it to somebody. The question is, how do you set up a system which assures that the real assets are created which those benefits are employed to purchase? So it's not a question of security.
Alan Greenspan said, there's nothing to prevent the federal government from creating as much money as it wants. this would be known as modern monetary theory, which doesn't get a lot of play. Thanks to you and Real Progressive, Stephanie Kelton, it's getting a little bit more attention. But we have heard throughout this pandemic, states and cities are struggling. Nancy Pelosi, I think, mentioned universal basic income once, kind of in passing. The Republicans are now saying going back to their familiar deficits and debt. The Democrats agreed to the original coronavirus shit sandwich. But in reality, we could have done what Europe did, which is exactly what Alan Greenspan just described. Create money to just cover payrolls. The government could have been the backstop to cover payrolls, so we didn't have to put people on unemployment, or the government could have just given direct cash infusion, UBI. Rashida Tlaib said, mint the damn coin. Bernie Sanders, $2,000 a month. So now, because the Democrats and Republicans, these negotiations are going nowhere fast, Trump has put forth an unemployment executive action, which to me makes no sense. I'll play Larry Kudlow's disastrous interview in a little bit. But the bottom line is, isn't this all bullshit theater and we have the money and could just give it to people right now?
Yeah, so it's really more a matter of we never don't have money. We never do have money. We create money whenever we spend, right? So money is like a unit of account, like an inch or a pound. We don't have it just laying around. We create it every time we spend. And whenever we tax, we delete it out of existence. So the idea that we don't have this money is a joke. Stephanie Kelton has been loud and bold talking about how we need to send checks out, big checks out to people, but not as a UBI, as more of a disaster payment right now to keep the economy from bottoming out, to keep people from, not having food, not having shelter, etc. But we've also staunchly advocated, nationalizing payroll to keep people where they are so that we don't have to make bad choices about going to work or taking our kids and putting them into school or whatever. I mean, you yourself had coronavirus, so, you understand the impacts that this could have for so many people. But they put us in this untenable position with this lie. And then they were so far into the lie that they didn't know how to back out of the lie when we had a pandemic. So, yeah, it is bullshit. And yes, Greenspan is the arch enemy, if you will, in terms of being king neoliberal. But he had a moment of honesty there in his discussion points with Paul Ryan, where he basically tells Paul Ryan, hey, there's no issue of solvency. There's only an issue of whether we can create an economy where the real goods and services, the real resources are there to meet the demand. And therein which lies the rub with the UBI. We've talked about that before, but Alan Greenspan is quite adamant that we have to have the goods and services. And so without being able to have the goods and services, that really makes expanding Social Security a problem. It makes any kind of basic income a problem. So we've got to be able to account for goods, real goods and services. We got to account for the fact that we can create money at will. It's never an issue of whether we have the money. But there is a third leg to this, and that is the legal authority to actually spend that money. And so some of these programs and stuff have special clauses, the way they're written, kind of poison pills that were put in there back in the McCarthy era, where they were trying to make sure that nobody thought we were socialists, nobody thought we were communists or whatever. So they made you feel like you were paying into this thing. But in reality, all it is just a keystroke on a spreadsheet somewhere. That money is just like every bit of money the U.S. government spends. It's all brand new money. All brand new money.
And Steve, excuse me for the cheap break, but I forgot. The status quo cannot create money. So let me give you a few reminders. Number one, press that like button. We got 300 people watching. 153 of you have pressed the like button. I need another 100 or so. Please press that like button. Do it for Steve. He's working on a Sunday to join us here. So press the like button. It's a thumbs up button right under the live stream. Also, got a little promotion today. Steve, you might want in on this. Hey, free masks. If you sign up as a Status Coup member today, you're going to get a free special, what do they call that? Limited edition. These are not the masks we've been selling through our store. we ordered, I think, 100 special masks. Not that the ones you've been ordering from our store aren't special. These just have the bigger logo. So if you become a member today, statuscoup.com/join, you won't get that beautiful man, but you will get the mask that he's wearing. Hey, again, to be clear, these are not CDC certified, none of that. They're just to cover your nose, your mouth. Can't make any health proclamations, but you can wear a mask with the Coup. So if you sign up as a member, statuscoup.com/join, $5 a month, you could get a free mask. Also, annual membership. If you sign up today as an annual member, so membership has different levels. You could become a low $5 member or sign up as an annual member for $179 annually. You'll get a free shirt and mask. And by the way, I mean, Steve, I don't know if you've gotten a shirt yet. Here's Mary. Mary, our first Status Coup viewer to send me a picture, swagging with Status Coup on her shirt. Mary, you're looking wonderful. Thanks for sending. Hope you don't mind I'm showing. So those are all the disclosures. If you sign up as a free, if you just sign up as a regular member, you'll get a free mask. If you sign up as an annual member, you'll get a free mask and a shirt. Full disclosure, we got to do this because we've lost a lot of members during coronavirus. We'll talk about media and stuff later, but anyway, I just wanted to get that out of the way. Sign up, statuscoup.com/join. The link is right here in the super chat. This is a super chat also, so feel free to leave your chats, and we'll keep reading them. So, Steve, I wanted to ask you also specifically because, to me, I mean, I'm not breaking news here that Trump is terrible. He obviously is not a populist, even though he presented himself as that. I actually am surprised because I thought he was just going to be desperate enough looking at the polls to go full on Bernie Sanders or just a cheap imitation, throw out Medicare for all for the final months before the election, throw out some UBI, and to say to hell with it, I want to win re-election. I thought McConnell would go along with it because he wants to keep the Senate. And then if he got reelected, they'd back off. It doesn't seem like he's doing that yet. But to me, I don't understand why the Democratic Party went along with this in the first place. There was no need to even push people off to unemployment because, again, you are pushing people off to a very outdated, both the technology at these state offices are outdated. They're not really set up for mass unemployment claims like a pandemic. I spoke with people where their state unemployment offices basically had 20 people working there, and they had to hire an extra 150 to deal with the demand of unemployment claims. So unemployment was not smart. They could have just, again, created money like they do for war, like they do for tax cuts for billionaires, like they do for subsidies to Goldman Sachs and Pfizer and Raytheon. But Democrats went along with this while also giving $4 to $6 trillion to corporations. I don't recall hearing how you're going to pay for that when they gave the $4 to $6 trillion to the corporations in the original bill. And also pivoting to Democrats are freaking out. Trump wants to do a payroll tax cut or deferment, whatever that means. I don't think it's a good idea, so I'm not defending it. But I'm saying to myself, this doesn't actually fund Social Security. That's a lie, too. Can you kind of respond to the Democrats going along with this original terrible legislation and all this faux cry that Trump's robbing Social Security? Social Security, in reality, is solvent as long as the government chooses to keep it solvent.
That's absolutely correct. First things first, we've got one party largely in there. I mean, people can debate about the quibbles that go back and forth, but in reality, it is good theater. You started this off perfectly. It's nothing but theater. And it's really disconcerting. I sit there in my own private moments thinking to myself, I'm screaming from the rooftops about these things constantly. And in reality, the average person is just really interested in not being depressed. They just want to be entertained. They're not interested necessarily in learning how this stuff works. And so the pressure to make these two warring children, this theater, become part of the apparatus that serves we the people. There's just no pressure from we the people, the populism that we thought we had. We're just not able to do that because we don't understand what's going on. And you nailed it. I mean, the bottom line is that Trump is absolutely not playing the role that we all thought he would outleft the Democrats even more. But by putting these executive orders out there, what he's done is a couple things. Number one, it's a little bit of smoke and mirrors, but let's be crystal clear. It does provide some absolute relief for some people. It's not just a complete zero-sum gain. And that's always been the trick with Trump, is that he gives just enough out there to make people forget what a jack-off he is, right? And so with the situation with Social Security, which is an even more nefarious situation. Social Security was written back in the days of, World War II and the Great Depression and all that good stuff that was going on. So there was a lot of fear of communism, fear of socialism. And so FDR, in order to get this thing passed, and mind you, he had a second Bill of Rights he was trying to pass too, which didn't come to be. But in order to get Social Security through, he knew that Americans needed to feel like they were putting into it. So they wrote it in this concept of these trust funds. Well, the trust funds are merely a spreadsheet that tracks things. It doesn't actually have any money in it. It doesn't really actually fund things in the way that we know. The government literally makes a policy decision to give authority to the government to make those payments. And so it's never an issue of whether we have the finances. The issue is whether or not the way the law is written gives Congress the authority to make those payments. It's like Nancy Pelosi and Pegosi, right? It's not anything that we can't do. We can pay till the cows come home. But she wants to insert this rule in there to block payments based on us raising taxes or cutting spending. It's the same thing with Social Security and the trust fund. There is no such thing as raiding the trust fund. It's a spreadsheet. There's no money in it. All the money, just as we already stated, is created every time they cut a Social Security check. So it's a bit of a heartstrings game. It's like Santa's telling you he's going to put coal in your stocking if you're not a good kid. Well, in this case, Social Security, they're saying, hey, you're paying into this. You're entitled to it. It's yours, right? You've earned it, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is they could raise that to 100%. I mean, they could raise the payments out the wazoo. They could eliminate FICA taxes altogether, and it would still be completely solvent because the U.S. creates currency every time it spends. And I tell you, when you tell people this stuff, it's not just Republicans that get mad at you. It's our friends and loved ones within the progressive and left community that look at you like you're crazy. But it's true. It's true as the day is long. And until we grip that and hold it, we're going to allow Joe Biden to come out there and say, he's bankrupting Social Security. And then they all come together and say, yeah, it's bankrupt, so we got to privatize it. And that's always the underlying goal with these people. Joe Biden has long been on the hook trying to say, let's privatize Social Security. So did Hillary Clinton, lest any of the Democrats get a case of the feels out there thinking that I'm just, making stuff up. It's out there. Go research it. They have always wanted to privatize this because it fattens Wall Street. Right now, these payments are all made directly by the government, just like any other payment could be. And so it's just a matter of keystroking this stuff into existence. And that's what's happening now. It's not something that has to be implemented. That's not some far-off fantasy. That's not even MMT. It's just MMT is the only one that describes it as it is. So I want to be clear. We can do all these things, and we're not. And you look at both parties and you ask yourself, why are you all playing political volleyball when we're out here literally wondering how we're going to get our next meal? It's ridiculous. Right. It's ridiculous.
And I want to show you some love, or John Cena, $10 in the super chat. Thanks, guys, for having Steve on. MMT is crucial stuff we need to learn and inject in the conversation now. Check out Real Progressives for more MMT knowledge and what to do next. Each one, teach one. I agree.
Tommy John.
Keep those super chats coming. By the way, the URL to Real Progressives website is in the description box. Check it out. So I want to start from the beginning of this, okay? Because to me, this is what should have happened in the beginning. Sure, the civil libertarians will crow and scream, even not like "don't tread on me" people. I'm talking like people on the left that are civil libertarians, have issues with privacy intrusions, which I agree with, and things like that. But to me, if you wanted to actually eliminate an unknown pandemic, don't fully understand how it transfers, don't fully understand how long it hangs in the air, We're not positive if masks, I mean, we think masks help minimize it, but we're not positive. Like, I wore a mask when I was out and I still contracted it. So it's not 100%, but close enough. Bottom line, if you really wanted to stop the virus, what needed to be done was to just cancel everything for at least 30 days, meaning cancel rent, cancel mortgages, cancel student loans, cancel utilities, just freeze the entire economy. Not moratoriums on it, cancel it so everybody feels the pain equally. It's like put the country on pause, everybody stay home. Yes, people would not like that, but the way to really get rid of it in the first place was people not near each other everywhere. One uniform federal rule, not this piecemeal, this state does this county does this. And that could have been done because, again, we create the money. The taxes don't fully cover anything, really. So would that have been possible? The landlord would have been in the same situation as the renter, right? The student would have been in the same position as the person that owes a loan shark. Everything would have been basically for a month forgiven. If it required longer than a month, so be it. And instead of this long drawn out economic, frankly, I think we're near a depression once
we are
sugar,
in a depression.
Yeah. Wouldn't that have been the answer, or is that not practical?
I think we could go a step further. You know, I had Pavlina Trineva, who's from Bard College and Levy Institute, on with me, and we talked about nationalizing payroll. We could have made every single employee have their full paycheck, not just some, like every worker, everybody that earns a paycheck. And that means even people that make a lot of money. We're not most rich people are not getting a paycheck. That's not where their money comes from. So we got to stop hating on paycheck people, right? But the idea of everybody just getting their paycheck could have been done just like that. The other thing could have been done, if you really are worried about these folks not getting paid, these small businesses and stuff like that, it's completely conceivable, and there's people out there probably won't like this, but rather than bailing out the multinational corporations the way the Fed did through QE and stuff like that, what it could have done also is it could have said, hey, for the next 3 months, we'll average out what your normal income would have been, and we will make direct payments to you all to keep these stores minus the payroll that we're covering already. We'll give you that, and that way the economy just keeps going along. It's like, the reason why they didn't do that, though, is even more nefarious. Because, see, once we understand that they can do that, then it completely defeats capitalism. This is what's beautiful about MMT. Once we understand that money comes from the government, in this case, it's state currency, and the government is actually the one in control of markets. It's the one setting the rules. It's the one providing liquidity. It's not these businesses. It's not the banks. It's the government. Once you realize the government is the monopoly issuer, the monopoly price setter, et cetera, then all of a sudden it's like, well, hold on, this whole free market thing's blown out of the water. But you can't make people realize that because they've got almost religious beliefs about the way money works. And so getting past that is a real challenge. People get really upset when you talk about this stuff. And I came from the Ron Paul world, so I understand all those arguments. I really do. And I was sympathetic. I'm less.
Steve, can I just
Yes,
interrupt
sir.
you? I apologize
Please.
for interrupting you, but I need to make a point.
Yeah,
A quick point.
sure.
Rand Paul is a fraud. He just voted against a 10% reduction in the defense budget. Again, the defense budget doesn't even cover it, MMT. But the point is, Rand Paul, his father at least was consistent on this. Rand Paul, who everyone, progressives tend to, give an olive branch because he's anti-war. He's not really anti-war because he just voted against Bernie's amendment or bill to cut the Pentagon budget by 10%. I digress. Just wanted to get that out there. Go on.
Worth it, man. Worth it. I mean, there's the other. You nailed it, man. I mean, bottom line is that these folks out there recognize that the only acceptable way to get money into the economy that will never get pushback, and you see it by Rand Paul, is spending it into the military and letting it come through the military back into the economy. Soldiers buy bread, soldiers buy automobiles, soldiers buy motorcycles, and then the military buys guns and tanks and planes and trains and automobiles, all the stuff they buy with that, bombs. And ultimately, that's the way the money gets into the economy. They got that first dollar instead of spending that dollar on regular people so they can pay their electric, they pay that first dollar into Halliburton and into Boeing and into all these different groups out there, Northrop Grumman, you name it. And then that money matriculates from them. So they have far more power over the economy based on where we spend that first dollar. It's not by mistake. These people are bought and paid for. They are on the take full and full. So I think it's important for us to understand that just because that's how it works doesn't mean that's how it has to work. That it could serve the people. We could spend down at the bottom instead of starting at the top and leave it democratic as to where that money makes it. If we don't decide to spend our money on Northrop Grumman, guess what? Northrop Grumman doesn't get that money. And so it's just a fundamental different way of looking at the whole enchilada, right? If you think that we have to wait on banks to pay for this stuff, you got it all wrong. The government is the one that makes the decisions when it passes laws. And even when it doesn't pass laws, it's got a lot of these baked in laws called automatic stabilizers that are automatic infusions, cash infusions into the economy, like TANF and all these other little things that when certain things happen in the economy, they trigger another event that spends that money, new money, into the economy, not tax dollars, new money. And I think that this paradigm here is still the most challenging thing to get our movement in particular to get their arms around, because once they acknowledge this, there's a lot of disconnecting that has to be done. There's a lot of old beliefs that you have in your head about what the rich, we want to eat the rich, but we want to eat them for dessert, not the main course, because the main course is federal spending. The dessert is eating the rich because they're too damn rich and stopping them from buying our democracy. But we keep putting the rich ahead of these things so that we think we're getting their money to pay for these programs, but that's not how it works. And the military is the perfect example to prove that through and through. I hope the audience here, because we have some shared audience, I hope we all start grabbing a hold of this and remembering this so that when we hear Biden say nonsense or we hear Trump say nonsense, that as one united front, we're fighting for economic truth, not partisan. I'm a Democrat, you're a Republican, because the 99% goes across both of these. And if we united in this truth, imagine all the lies that are told in the name of economic buffoonery that we could get rid of and just get right to, well, what do we value? What do we value as a society? And I would suspect that everybody to a fault in the pandemic would say, I value healthcare. I value getting rid of student debt so my child isn't leaving the home. Their first job is just to pay off their student debt for the next 20 years before they have their first kiss. Going back to 1950s thinking, right? But the point is that we have a very, very skewed way of viewing this. And I think that if people take the time to read Stephanie Kelton's new book, The Deficit Myth, that book in and of itself is so easy to read, I think my mother could enjoy it, right? And my mom is a non-econ person, and she would enjoy it. It just breaks all these myths down. And, from my vantage point, I've been talking about this for 5 years publicly as, the voice of real progressives. But we also have our podcast, Macro and Cheese, where we just released our 81st episode yesterday. And we talk to these experts, and this is all we talk about, literally. And the social implications of the decisions we make or don't make as these guys are sitting there playing games and nobody is getting served. I mean, I'm hearing friends talking about, I don't know how I'm going to make ends meet. And you yourself talked to me about how you lost subscribers here as a result of Corona. I mean, alternative media has taken a beating. We're already getting our butt kicked by mainstream media anyway. And then you look in and you see the way the coronavirus is impacting people's paychecks, and it's crushing the other voice, this voice of alternative media that provides truth where there is none in the mainstream. So I think it's very important that people start realizing how important this subject is so that we as a movement, if we have a movement at all anymore, can move forward and really, really take the power back. It really is about knowledge.
Right. And we got 424 people watching, so 420, smoke that pipe. Press the like button so we can get more. 425 people watching, but 288 likes. So we got to get that differential up. If every single person could press the like button, even if you don't like me, do it for Steve. That's all I ask.
And if you hate me, do it anyway.
Because unfortunately, Steve brought up the mainstream media is kicking our butt. A large reason why is because Silicon Valley is hiding channels like this into a cave, as well as real progressives. Their algorithm fuckery props up and stuffs CNN, ABC News, MSNBC in your feed. It's unbelievable, Steve. If you click on YouTube trending, It's all corporate media constantly,
Every bit of it.
because
Every bit.
that's who YouTube's algorithm favors. Anyway, I could go on a long rant about that. I digress. Cyril O'Reilly, $20 in the super chat. Learn MMT. Hashtag each one teach. Austerity is murder. Thank you, Cyril O'Reilly. I think Cyril O'Reilly. And keep those super chats coming. Gino Fast, $49.99. Holy cow. Economic cliff is real. Canceling college football, billion-dollar industry. If they are canceling that, what's next? Football is huge. Let me tell you something, Gino and Steve, real quick on this. I think there's a better chance of me getting a six-pack by September than them canceling NFL football. These plutocrat billionaire owners, some black players have called them quasi-plantation masters. Basically, I think they would rather risk their players' lives than lose any profit. That's just my opinion. So, I want to segue to Biden. And by the way, as a reminder, please press that like button. And if you're coming to this late, we have a new promo. If you sign up as an annual member today, statuscoup.com/join, you'll get a free Status Coup mask and shirt. Annual members get both. If you just sign up at any amount, you'll get a free mask. That's statuscoup.com/join. I uploaded a video just for members right before this interview. Boy, did I get a very interesting email this morning from a viewer reprimanding me for not being biblical enough. So anyway, I did a video on that for members. I uploaded it before I went live. Steve, I want to ask you, because Biden, I recall, during the debates, when he was lucid enough to debate, I recall Biden just saying to Bernie, he's like that old, grumpy little grandpa. Well, they're the same age, but whatever. I remember Biden very, very much saying to Bernie, how are we going to pay for this Medicare for all? How are we going to pay for all these, gizmos and gadgets you want to do? How are we going to help the people? But on one breath, he's saying, how are you going to pay for this $30 trillion? But on the other breath, I didn't hear him say a damn word at the time when Democrats agreed with Republicans to give $4 to $6 trillion out of thin air to corporations.
Not a word.
After the fact, after Democrats went forward with it, then he started the platitudes with Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, of reprimanding the lack of oversight, the lack of, structure and the lack of accountability. They didn't have a problem with the money out of thin air that they say doesn't exist. Remember? Joe Biden,
absolutely.
The Democrats, their whole thing is, we don't have the money for this. How are we going to pay for this? But when it was for corporations to pad their balance sheets during the pandemic, most of whom did not need the money, they could have afforded to lose. Joe Biden was silent. All of these anti-Medicare for all people were silent. MSNBC and CNN, who went on a Bernie Sanders jihad for 5 years, were silent. So how did they come up with the money for that? But we can't come up with the money for Medicare for all during a deadly pandemic, where I think they're underscoring how many people have no health care now. I saw the number at like 5 million more people. I think it's closer to 20 million more people, because I've spoken with people. If you think trying to get unemployment is tough right now, try getting through to the Medicaid phone line to get Medicaid.
Well, you think about this. I'm going to go back to what I said a few minutes ago and say point blank that the reason why they don't do this stuff is because they know that once they start taking care of people, we realize that they can take care of people. And the thing is that they don't want to give away the idea that the government can handle anything right. They've spent their entire careers making government look inept, making government look weak and feeble and unable to take care of the people. And so when you've got a lifetime invested in making government look incompetent, it is almost impossible to backtrack when you're 78 years old and your entire career has been spent screwing the people. Joe Biden has long since been a deficit hawk. He has been a lifetime deficit hawk. In fact, Bernie Sanders' team put out a great video clip of Joe Biden talking about how he wanted to cut everything. And he wasn't just talking about Medicare. He wasn't just talking about Social Security. He was talking about everything, cut everything, right? And this is who Joe Biden is. And so naturally, they've always used the mirage of the military. They've always used the mirage of businesses being the source of job creation, banks being the source of funding, all these. And so by getting rid of that illusion, by direct spending, they shatter everything they've ever said. And they know this, and they know this pandemic won't be forever. So if they start showing you their undergarments, they start pulling the curtain back, you're going to expect it long term. And we should expect it, and we should demand it. But Joe Biden, he's a pretty bad guy, right? I mean, this is a guy who wrote the crime bill, who was instrumental in the Patriot Act. He literally wrote the damn bill, pushed the bill that made it so that all the bankruptcy were almost impossible to discharge during the global financial crisis. I mean, Joe Biden has been on the wrong side of every issue. He makes Ronald Reagan look like a Democrat. I mean, that's how bad Joe Biden is in terms of being a right-winger. And then enter into this Bernie Sanders unity task force that they brought, where they actually brought some heavy hitters. You had Stephanie Kelton. You had Sarah Nelson of the airline union. You had Derek Hamilton. And you had AOC. And they came together and they tried to talk about the deficit and how the thinking that they have about this stuff is all wrong. They try to push Medicare for all. They try to push a job guarantee. They try to put a Green New Deal out there, try to get rid of student debt. And lo and behold, the most they came away with was a super watered down student debt plan. And then, Biden, of course, piecemealing some sort of a fossil fuel plan. But at the end of the day, they're still thinking about it from a standpoint of markets and paying for it. How are you going to pay for it? It's still baked into the sauce. And so ultimately, these folks, this entire myth that Joe Biden is pushing is really, honest to God, he is making Trump look like a lefty here. And I hate the fact that Biden has better manners than Trump, because it obscures that fact so badly that when you try and explain to people, hey, the Baltimore Ravens, when they won the Super Bowl a few years back, had Trent Dilfer, a really crappy quarterback. But they had a really, really good defense, and they won the Super Bowl by playing defense. Well, sometimes in politics, it's better to play defense than go out there with Ryan Leaf as your quarterback, okay? And that's what Joe Biden is. He's Ryan Leaf. And if you try and get rid of Trump, we have 100% unity against Trump. Everybody is willing to fight against Trump. All these Emily's listers and other folks out there, the ones that are ready to go to brunch, well, guess what? They got to put brunch off for 4 years if Trump is reelected. But with Biden, we lose 75% of our resistance right there. All those vote blue, no matter who folks, immediately go back to Borg, reinsert into the matrix, and they're ready to go to brunch. And they're like wearing those pork pie hats, celebrating, laughing, going out on their vacations and stuff like that. While the same poor people, the Black Lives Matter folks and everyone else are left with 75% less support than they had before. These real issues get washed away. And by the way, climate change didn't stop. And so Biden is like a sedative to 75% of our forces. And I use those people, even though they're not necessarily quote unquote allies per se, they're allies when the Republicans are in office. The minute that happens, they're back to defending blue. Think about how many people defended Hillary Clinton with Benghazi. Think about how many people defended Barack Obama every time he bombed a new country. Think about how many people defended Barack Obama when he told people to eat their peas, or when he tried to reprimand black people for being better parents. I mean, they have literally over and over again, they defend blue worse than the police in their thin blue line. The Democrats do the same thing. So the minute that Biden gets elected, if he gets elected, and that's no sure thing, you're going to lose a huge swath of power and energy. And all of a sudden, the mainstream media, which, I mean, you saw the lady from MSNBC who just quit because of the bias. Can you imagine the silence of our movement once Biden gets in there? They're not going to cover any of our issues. It'll only be what they want to hear. And I mean, it's devastating. I can't even imagine how bad that would be for our causes, our issues. And it seems like that's a win, but I don't see it as a win. I see it as a complete and utter loss at a time where we all need to really be united in pushing this ball forward. It just sucks that we don't have Bernie Sanders in the White House or someone else like Bernie Sanders. Instead, we're going to get stuck with Trump or Biden. And that's just a fact. It's a shame.
Before I go on, just want to read some super chats. Keep these coming. John Seiner, $5. Status Coup and Real Progressives are legit sources of knowledge and truth. I look forward to these two organizations collaborating going forward. Yes, we should do more. Vicky Blair, $20. I wasn't going to super chat because I still don't have a job, but since you have Steve on, you have my two favorite alt media channels, #LearnMT. Vicky, as much as I love you, I don't want you to give us money if you can't afford it. So keep it coming if you can. If you can't, we love you anyway, Vicky. And I hope things get better as soon as possible for you. VA from NY, $20. Steve and Jordan should do a weekly segment. Whoa, now. I don't know if Steve's two kids at home with him will allow it, but we'll see. JK, $5. Super chat for the great Steve Grumbine. Thank you. Keep it coming. 430 people watching right now, so everybody press that like button. As a reminder, the link for Real Progressives is in the description box, at the bottom of the description box, so you can check it out, realprogressiveusa.com. So, there's something outside of just MMT that I think really comes into play here. Because to me, whether it's Trump or Biden, and I also don't want to, I think Trump is worse on certain things. For example, I think Trump is 100% worse on the environment. Not that Biden is a tree hugger, not that Biden even understands the gravity of the situation, but I mean, Trump is literally repealing any regulation on air, water. I mean, there are just things you could say objectively. Trump is one worse. The environment is one of them. War, I think it's a wash. To be honest, I think Biden probably would start a war with somebody, just because that's been his inclination. He wanted Obama to go in bombs away on bin Laden. He didn't just vote for Iraq. I didn't think Bernie really pushed this issue enough. He was one of the main cheerleaders and workers behind the scenes to get it through for George Bush. But to me, one of the big things, when you talk about part of the reason that we have this theater is because the government doesn't want the people to know that we can provide for all of this. I think it actually goes further than that. It's not the government that doesn't want the people that know. It's their bosses, the United Corporations of America. It's the donors that run the company that is in America. That's what the flag behind me is for. It's not even the government running things. Trump, for all his bravado, he got in there. What did he do? He serviced the donors, corporations, his hotels. He gave a $1.5 trillion tax cut to people who didn't need it. The deregulation. Biden, okay, he's going to increase corporate taxes to 28%. Do you think these corporations give a shit? No, because they know they're not going to pay anywhere near that, if they pay at all, because their accountants are going to get them a refund from a Biden government, just like these companies got a refund from an Obama administration. So surface level, Biden will increase taxes on corporate America or increase the top rate on the top people back to whatever it was, 39.5. But in reality, the reason that these officials don't push for blanket government just cover the payrolls or keep all employees on the payrolls so the government foots the bill, or a mixture of UBI, is because their donors do not want them or will not allow them. It's the same thing for Medicare for all. Isn't it kind of a conflict, Steve, if the Democratic politicians and the Republican politicians are getting hundreds of millions of dollars to the point of a total billions of dollars from Wall Street investors, that in their portfolio, some of their top investments are healthcare industry, hospital equipment, pharmaceutical companies. They don't want Medicare for all because their Wall Street profits are heavily reliant on the for-profit healthcare industry. So I think people might realize, but not to the extent, a lot of this theater, it's not only that people don't understand MMT, our government officials don't want people to understand it because their donors don't want to open up Pandora's box.
It's so well said. So well said. I mean, Jamie Dimon is on record saying that, recessions, may be bad for regular people, but they're pretty damn good for JP Morgan. Okay. Recessions are an opportunity. If you ever look at a wave from a tsunami, right? You see how the water pulls back and you see all the conch shells on the beach and you see all the different, seashells all up and down, right? And then all of a sudden this wall of water comes through and sweeps everyone away. And then it retrenches again. But the one entity, if you will, that survives all that is the people that come in and buy up all the assets after everybody's been wiped out. And that's what these corporations of America are doing to us. That's what the donor class and the oligarchs. And I hate using these big words. Bottom line is these are very wealthy people that are well connected, that have their hands all over government. And that they're the ones that basically hand select who, what, when, why, and where. And so, yeah, I mean, they're literally watching us, every one of these recessions, every one of these depressions, that tsunami wipes us out and they come in and they capitalize on it more. If you look, people have still not gotten back their base income that they had from the last global financial crisis. In fact, we've gotten to be even a more gig economy where people have even less security, et cetera. And this is all by design. This is Silicon Valley putting their thumbprint on it, who are also, by the way, one of the leading voices in the UBI movement. And there's a reason for that. They want to control us because when they have all these video games and, look at Facebook that wants to do Libra, all these ability to control us through mass surveillance and data warehousing and all this other, this is what they want. They want us to be able to spend money, and they want us to be able to spend money through the internet, and they want us to be able to be tracked by that and so forth. They sell that money, sell that information to law enforcement. They sell that information to other corporations. They just make money off of our behavior constantly.
Steve, let me tell you, I sometimes share too much. I'm having a bit of a problem with constipation, okay? I've been Googling, things that could help me go to the bathroom. I'm a 33-year-old going on 95. I Google, this or that, constipation, leaky gut syndrome, whatever. I am bombarded now on Facebook with ads for everything under the sun, some things I don't even want to share. So when you say surveillance, they're surveilling everything from your, health searches to more serious private things like that, all to make money. Go on.
I'm a huge Grateful Dead fan. And John Ciner will definitely bust my chops for being a huge Deadhead, but I am a huge Deadhead. And so I went out and made the mistake of buying one really cool tie-dye shirt I liked. I really liked it. Then all of a sudden, everywhere I went, there was tie-dye shirts for sale. I'm like, it didn't suddenly become 1969 all of a sudden again, right? But sure enough, everywhere I go, I'm getting bombarded with sales for tie-dyes. And the first 2 or 3, I bit like a champ. I said, gotta have that one, gotta have that one. And so before long, I had 3 or 4 Grateful Dead tie-dye shirts that I hadn't previously had. And I just started to say, wait, hold on, I gotta clear my cache or something because I can't keep getting bombarded with this. And then the next thing, I actually looked for a glass pipe. And all of a sudden now I got every single one of these water bongs and you name it showing up I'm like, what the heck, man? And each time you do that, I bought a watch one time. Now all of a sudden watches are showing up everywhere. So, and in emails coming, hey, Steve, and phone calls, random phone calls, hey, your electric company is charging you too much. And you're like, what? Oh, I filled out a form online. Damn it. It goes everywhere. And this is a big part of why they want us. Here's some money, because we don't really care about you getting the money. We care about the data that we can get from you spending that money. And the more data we get, the more we can track you and the more that we can sell that knowledge to whoever. And in fact, sell it back to the government, which is crazy. But yes, this is what's going on right now today.
Mm-hmm. NBW Doughboy, $2. I love these segments so much. MMT is interesting. Thank you. We got, hold on, Bad Mama Jama, $5. A million thanks for having Steve on. MMT may not be the sexiest topic, but it is one of the most crucial at the moment. Proud, Real Progressives, and Status Coup patron. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Bad Mama Jama. So let's cast forward. I mean, I don't tell people how to vote. Vote however you want, Trump or Biden. But as it stands right now, if the election were held today, it looks like Biden would get in there. When I say Biden would get in there, I really say whoever his vice president is, because I think there's a good chance in a year and a half we might be looking at a new president. I'm not wishing Biden health problems, but it's clear something's going on. I've been saying it for a year. Of course, the Democratic Party would rather run a half-dead, cognitively failing, person than a progressive, but that's a different story. So to me, I feel like this is just Groundhog's Day because I foresee what's going to happen. It's kind of what happened when Obama got in there. Obviously, we didn't have a health pandemic there, but you have the economy falling off a cliff. Biden's going to get in there. He's probably going to surround himself with bankers. Rumors that Jamie Dimon might be Treasury Secretary. Lawrence Summers has been advising him. I mean, the neoliberal class reunion of the 90s, basically. And maybe they'll do a stimulus like Obama did, maybe a little bigger this time. Let's put it at 1.52 trillion. And there's going to be a lot of incremental bullshit in there. A lot of tax cuts for the middle class, or tax cuts for companies that rehire or training for, the jobs of tomorrow, and, all this talk about coding and blah, blah, blah. Basically, it's going to be a mishmash of tax cuts, tax credits, incentives, and some other window dressing with very little direct actual cash infusion to people. None of what FDR did, which is direct government jobs program. To me, a specific government jobs program would be directly for black communities, brown communities that have never had government jobs programs. So to me, throw it up there. Yeah, you could say Trump is worse, let's get rid of him and then fight Biden. But if Biden gets in there, I feel like we're just going to have a quote, air quotes, recovery like we did from Obama, where unemployment goes down, the rate will go down, but the actual economic picture will remain. Since 2008, most working people did not fully cover from that, even today, right?
That's right. That's
since
correct.
2008, I don't have the percentages, but I'd say a very large percent of those jobs lost never came back because these corporate pigs, they learned to do more with less. And now you mix in automation, artificial intelligence, this and that. So I think a Biden recovery would basically be like an Obama recovery, surface level recovery that massively expands income inequality and leaves a permanent jobless class.
Yes, absolutely. It's funny you say that. We talk about a job guarantee. A federal job guarantee is the cornerstone of modern monetary theory. There's no greater policy position that MMT puts out there than the federal job guarantee. And the federal job guarantee, which you're kind of talking about, you're actually making it for, just a segment. I'm saying federal job guarantee should be a right to a job. Every one of us has a right to a job. So in other words, if I decide I don't like my employer, forget getting fired, I just don't like my employer and there's no jobs available, I can walk right out the door and go into a federal job guarantee job and serve my local community just like that. I could do that if we had a federal job guarantee. And because they don't want, in fact, Biden's campaign was advised by Stephanie Kelton and Derek Hamilton, who are two of the leading voices on the job guarantee side. And Biden's campaign said, we don't know enough about the job guarantee. We're not interested in it, and nixed it.
Oh, are they going to do a commission like they want to do on reparations? We need to study it more? Yeah.
I don't even think they want to do that. That's how bad it is. And the frustrating thing about this is that, I heard what you said about not wanting to advise anyone how to vote. And I just put my opinions out there. What you do with them is your business. But in my opinion, I'm a movement guy, right? I look at not necessarily the electoral side of this. I'm looking at what keeps all of us in the street, what keeps all of us engaged fighting back. And I'm thinking to myself, when Bernie was running, we were there, man. We were out there. And when Bernie fell apart, everyone started falling apart, kind of like rudderless a little bit, like, damn, now what? What do we do now, man? I've spent the last 5 years saying the word Bernie Sanders every day of my life. Now what? What do I do? And I worry that a Biden, just like Obama, with hope and change, is going to come in there and literally put people back to sleep. That it's got nothing to do with who's better or worse, because Trump is clearly worse in a lot of respects. But what is not understood is the definition of worse. If you're looking at tweets, he's worse. If you're looking at pulling out of those agreements, worse. But if you're looking at the idea of we're fighting for you, we've got your back, America, and then all of a sudden you see them do the typical Democrat capitulation. I mean, that's what I am deathly afraid of, because then you're fighting not against Republicans, but you're fighting against Democrats to make them see that the Democrats once again did this. And they're not going to hear that. So I'm looking at the clock, the IPCC clock, where they talked about climate change, and they said 12 years, and this was like 3 years ago. So we're looking at 9 years. 9 years to actually take direct action to stop climate change from happening. And Biden is not committed to this. So we're talking about very, very hardcore situations that are going to bring about even more calamity, destroyed coastlines, destroyed communities, arid conditions, climate refugees, all these problems that are not being solved by nothing will fundamentally change Joe. So I'm very concerned as we go into this, that if we don't understand forget the politics. We didn't get a chance to get Bernie Sanders even to the convention. He dropped out way before because of thumbs being put on the scale and a pandemic. Now, what's going to happen when we come past the election and people go back to sleep? I don't think we can vote our way out of this problem, is my point. I mean, you vote however you want, but I don't think we can vote our way out. So I've got to ask myself, what keeps Jordan going, what keeps Steve going, and what keeps all of the movement going? And the only thing I know is they don't go for what they could support. They go for what they can fight against. And so to me, that's the only thing I see. And I'm open for being told I'm wrong. But that's the only thing I see that keeps these people engaged. I mean, and I think that is really what we're talking about here, because you're not going to vote your way out of this stuff. They've already shown you that they're not going to. Biden picks a neoliberal vice president. And Biden, let's say, walks away in a year and a half, or let's say he finishes out his first term. But then you've got the neoliberal succession plan, and they've already shown you what their primaries look like. So let's say AOC decides to run. She's not even going to be given a speaking gig at the convention, but John Kasich, a Republican, is? Are you kidding me? So this is your Democratic Party. Where is the revolution there? Where is the response to climate change there? Where is the response to healthcare there? I don't see it. And that's what I'm afraid of. I don't see anything. And then you've got the neoliberal 8 years of the vice president taking over, because let's be fair, most presidents get 2 years. Bush got one, Bush Sr. got one, and then maybe Biden will get one. But the average, I mean, W got two. No matter how many wars he got us into, he still got reelected. Clinton, no, even with impeachment, got a second term. You look at Obama, even with all the quote unquote racism and hate and all that stuff, 2 terms. Each one of these presidents gets 2 terms. So a vice president that's a neoliberal puts us at least, let's say, 8 years out from actually being able to make any kind of meaningful change. And that should terrify everyone, I think.
Well, I also think there's a psychological element to it, because to me, I think the progressive movement has exploded. I mean, there was no unified progressive movement before Bernie's first run. You had offshoots, Occupy Wall Street, Black Lives Matter, Fight for 15. But I mean, Bernie single-handedly brought in millions of people that were asleep or not involved at all. So I don't necessarily think the progressive movement would go back to sleep because Biden is president. My thing is, I think if Biden becomes president, the neoliberals, led by Biden or whoever his vice president is, or whoever the top donor of the month is, they have a built-in excuse not to do anything. Trump has destroyed us domestically. He's destroyed us internationally. It's the amount of work to undo the damage that Trump has done. Our reputation abroad, our norms, our structures, or this or that. I mean, throw out your words platitude salad. But they are going to have a built-in excuse that MSNBC is going to drum home, CNN, David Brooks, their allies at all of these outlets, that we don't have the luxury of going huge or doing all the things necessary because we're still digging ourselves out of the ditch that Trump did. It's kind of what Obama did in a lot of degrees with Bush. Listen, I say blame Bush till I'm dead. I mean, there's no moratorium on that. but they limited the amount of what they could do because their talking points were, we're still unraveling the damage of George W. Bush. So I think that if it's Biden and the Democrats, it just gives them that built-in rationale that the whole cabal, the Center for American Progress will drum home, their allies, I mean, even Silicon Valley will drum home. It really is, for lack of a better word, a giant corporate psyops that will go in. So if you ask me, listen, I say I understand. People don't like when I say it. I do understand why people would hold their nose and vote for Biden, because for some people, Trump is that bad. I mean, I have a certain amount of privilege as a white dude, so I'm not going to speak for black people, brown people, native people, immigrants. Like, I get it. If this is just too severe or threatening to you, who am I to question that? But in reality, on the economics of it, I mean, the bottom line is the Lincoln Project ain't going anywhere if Biden wins. We've already welcomed the Anna Navarros of the world into the Democratic Party, the Steve Schmitz of the world into the Democratic Party. These Republicans that should, in any civilized society, be in the witness protection program and not allowed to speak in public, they're speaking at the DNC convention, some of these people. So I think, basically, I'm not worried about our side staying in the fight, but I am worried about the neoliberals using exactly what I just told you as a rationalization to do nothing, or to do what Obama did, which was a totally too small. Even Paul Krugman said Obama's stimulus should have been over $1 trillion. It gives them an excuse to do a smaller stimulus that's tilted towards tax credits and all this incremental bullshit, and basically to shoot a Nerf gun when we need AK-47, for lack of a better word, of stimulus.
No, I don't disagree with that either. I mean, that's definitely a very valid position to take. And I don't disagree with that. That has been their pattern always, to go small. I mean, look back at when the ACA was being negotiated to begin with. The ACA was, I mean, they had a super majority. They had the House, they had the Senate, and they had the White House, and they still took single payer off the table. That was with the wind at their back. They took that off the table. Imagine now. I mean, they've been conditioning you to hate Trump before Trump ever did anything in office. I mean, back in the Clinton, when they were running against each other, they were already talking about impeachment before he had even been elected. And so the Russian stuff that's coming back again, they're already talking about foreign interference, and they're already planting seeds of doubt. So, yeah, they're going to go small. They're always going to go small. And it's because their corporate donors will not make enough money. They won't make more money if the government intercedes and helps people, because then all of a sudden you don't need to go to a bank to get a loan. Now all of a sudden you're taken care of. Why in the world would you have to go into private debt? So, yeah, this is them taking care of their donors yet again. They've got the built-in excuse. We're fighting for you. Donald Trump buried us with all this horrible stuff. We're digging out, but we're going to do it together. And all this platitude nonsense. And I don't disagree. I think you hit the nail on the head pretty well there.
And
absolutely.
Thank you, Cyril O'Reilly, $20. Until progressives have just a basic understanding of MMT, we will never have a better standard of living with programs such as Medicare for All, federal jobs guarantee, living wage, debt-free public college, #LearnMMT. I completely agree. And keep those super chats coming. That's a good segue that Cyril gave me, because I was going to ask you, listen, I'm very happy that Cori Bush won. I'm very happy that Jamal Bowman won. I'm very happy that Rashida Tlaib won re-election. I hope Paula Jean Swearingen is victorious in West Virginia. And there's plenty of other progressive candidates. So this is not like a knock on the newbies coming in. And, the truth is, for all the, AOC and these deserve criticism from time to time, but it is reality. They have not had the numbers that the Tea Party lunatics had to actually block things. They're not at that number yet. However, you've talked about climate change being like basically here, 9 years away, but I mean,
it's here.
I mean, North Carolina just had an earthquake, a massive earthquake, part of which
Yes.
is due to fracking. I mean, the hurricanes are increasing. So my question is, if all these if we're starting to get the numbers of victory, and Bernie, even though he lost, is getting these reinforcements, why aren't they publicly talking MMT? You got them behind closed doors. You said they were trying to explain to the Biden dinosaurs on the Unity Commission that we have all this money. But publicly, I don't even hear AOC saying, why are we even doing unemployment? Why are we even doing this? We could just create the money and cover everything. This deficit debt shit is just bullshit. We have the money. You just got to be careful about inflation, but we could just be the backstop right now. Why isn't Bernie talking that way? He's not running for election now. He's got nothing to lose. Why isn't, even the candidates that are running, like the Cory Bushes of the world, this and that, more red districts, maybe you have to temper the way you speak, but AOC's got nothing to, AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib. I don't even hear the progressives that are actually, for the most part, fighting the good fight, getting this out there. And if they're not getting it out there, you're not going to force MSNBC or CNN to cover, MMT, or put the term MMT aside. Just the fact that we're being conned and we have the money for this. There is no such thing as how we're going to pay for it.
Now, I see with AOC, and she gets knocked for good reason, but the thing that I see with her is she is a very, very smart and savvy person in that she sees the numbers of people she's got to work with, and she realizes, like Bernie, I don't have the numbers. I don't have the numbers, and that's the bottom line, is living to fight for another day. And this goes back to what Obama said, make me serve you, right? Even if you didn't believe him, he was like, you got to make me do this. Guys out there in the world, make me do this, right? And we don't have enough progressives making them do anything, number one. I mean, just now, if a quick scan of your Facebook page or up and down social media will show you how many Democrats out there think that Donald Trump has just somehow or another defunded Social Security. That is a huge number of people to try and change their mind, to make them understand, as bad as Trump is, and he is terrible, that this isn't real, that this is bullshit, right? But that's what they believe, and they huddle in packs, and they self-reinforce this bad doctrine. And it's safe because they've been left behind. There is no more Bernie at the front, like I said before. So what you have the typical Democrat narrative that the Republicans are raiding Social Security. It's been around since Reagan, and you've heard it through the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, and it's not going away until we debunk these things. But to be fair, I think that a lot of that is behind the scenes. I'm watching folks like Fadl Kaboub speaking with Justice Democrats, having full-blown private sessions with all these candidates, teaching them.
Can you describe for the audience who that is?
Fadl Kaboub is one of Stephanie's good friends. He's also a professor at Denison University and is the head of the Global Institute for Sustainable Prosperity. Fadl is also a big supporter of real progressives, and he is someone that teaches a lot of the Middle East and third world nations, basically how to institute a job guarantee and how to deal with sovereign currency, even in, a spectrum of sovereignty, like some of these sub-Saharan type, African nations like the Congo and Senegal and stuff like that. So Fadl is a really bright guy that has the ability to work with regular people in the street to teach them the basics of modern monetary theory and to answer so many questions. He's just truly a gem on many levels. But Fadl is basically having these Zoom calls with candidates all over the place. And he is teaching them inside out. He and Andres Bernal, who worked with AOC and also worked with Ashcraft and some others, they've been very instrumental and getting this word out there to these politicians. And so I do believe a new crop of people is learning this behind the scenes, albeit they're not comfortable yet. There's still fear that they'll be ridiculed, and there's just not enough progressive support on the ground to push back against the bad economic narratives. So they're caught in this really awkward position of wanting to be truth tellers, yet needing to get elected. And because our movement is just absolute, I mean, I think you've seen it in the chats and previous shows. A lot of people are very resistant to the things that I'm saying. Like somehow or another, this guy didn't know about the private Federal Reserve and all these things that they say. And it's like, guys, come on, stop. I mean, like, I'm not making this stuff up. I've got great air cover, great air cover here. Stephanie Kelton being the top of them all. So, Fadl is teaching these people. Lauren Ashcraft, I actually did an interview with her. A guy named Richard Dean Winfield out in Georgia. These are two people that really know MMT. They know the job guarantee. In fact, Richard Dean Winfield is actually a Senate candidate running on the idea of a federal job guarantee. So there are people out there doing it. But, people like Cori Bush, I know Cori has sat through Fadl's talks. I know that many of them have sat through. I've watched the private sessions, and he's telling them straight, there's no wiggle room. So I do believe there's a new crop of people learning this, and I'm hopeful that we as a movement, we as people, we as activists, take that and really start doing it ourselves to give them the air cover to be bold. If we're scared and we don't know this stuff, they're not gonna rock the boat. They got to get elected. Right. So it's up to us to clear the runway for them.
And VA from New York, $10 weekly MMT segment with Steve. Hey, don't tempt us. We might do it. Gino, $24.99. I was pumped by now when Obama ran. Inspiring. Bernie shocked me, and I was inspired. Someone was finally saying what I wanted to say. I can't remember one inspiring speech from Biden yet. Not one. I miss Bernie's good trouble. Yeah, I can't. I could look for eternity and not find a speech from Biden that would get you going. Carl Knight, $20. 20 bones for Status Coup. Love you all and the members too. Yes, good reminder for the 460 people here. If you came in late, if you sign up as a Status Coup member today, you'll get a free Status Coup mask. Statuscoup.com/join. That's statuscoup.com/join. Definitely support us if you can for as low as $5 and get a free mask. If you sign up as an annual member, that's $179 annually, you'll get a free mask and t-shirt. So definitely some good perks for you to get in. And that actually brings me to my last question, Steve. I mean, the truth is, independent media, there's not a lot of independent media even talking about MMT. I'm not going to lie, I don't talk about it that much because, frankly, it's frustrating to try and talk about something that people pretend isn't a thing. So it's like talking into a cave sometimes. But I talk about it a little bit more than I used to. But I think in reality, all the things that we've talked about, from the donors won't let the politicians do big things, to independent media, even before the pandemic, has been suppressed to the point. And just to give people, if you're new to this channel, an idea, when I was at the Young Turks, I mean, I started a channel for them. It was at 2,000 subscribers. In less than a year, I got it to 140,000 subscribers on YouTube. No, I'm not, this isn't because I'm bitter. I'm just telling you the truth. They barely even promoted it. It didn't grow because it was the Young Turks. It grew because there's actually a lot of demand for this content. I was actually in the field covering stories in the trenches, on the campaign trail in Flint, Michigan, covering the water crisis, Standing Rock, and the channel exploded. Doing the same exact content here, Steve, the only difference is not for TYT. We've been growing pretty much at a snail's pace. I mean, before YouTube changed its algorithm, which they did 2 years ago, and when they changed their algorithm, it basically just flooded people's feeds, flooded people's recommended with CNN videos, MSNBC videos. You'll be watching a Jimmy Dore video. In the past, it might have referred you next to a Status Coup video. Now it will refer you, to an ABC News video. The bottom line, Facebook, I don't even bother anymore because they've basically hidden channels like Status Coup in a cave. So I'm not saying this to get a violin. I'm not saying this so people will sign up as a member. But Real Progressives, I'm sure, has dealt with this to a degree too. It's hard to win the war of ideas if people can't see your ideas. So I think there's a real element here of, I've been saying it for a while. I have a call later about this with someone. Independent media needs to, right now we're all kind of on our own little islands doing our thing. A lot of people go live like at the same time as each other. the problem isn't too much content. The problem to me is it's not organized. There's not a lot of collaboration between outlets. There's egos, this and that. And frankly, yeah, Bernie did a lot wrong. He made a lot of mistakes that I've covered at this channel. But to me, Bernie Sanders would be the nominee right now, if not for between Biden's South Carolina victory and Super Tuesday, there wasn't an all-out new super PAC formed. Between MSNBC, CNN, all of the corporate media flooded the zone for 5 days. I read one story in the New York Times. Biden got over $100 million in 5 days of free advertising. Wow. The Buttigieg, the Klobuchar, all falling in line. Beto coming out, them airing that whole rally down in Texas for Biden. It was unlimited free media for Biden. And Bernie didn't react well. He didn't pivot. His campaign didn't pivot well. But Bernie also kept calling him my friend and would barely go after him and those things. But without the media attack, I think Bernie is the nominee, because if you look at the exit polls, and I've studied them, most people that voted for Biden, almost half, decided in those final days before Super Tuesday, they were still open to Bernie. So I guess what I'm asking you is, what is your prescription for fighting this type of suppression? Like me, you might have not figured it out yet. But I don't think you could inform people if people don't know when you're live, if people don't even know you have a channel. And this is not just Status Coup. I mean, even much bigger channels than us, like Secular Talk, I mean, to a much lesser degree, because they had a built-in audience before all this fuckery. Right. But even they have seen videos being demonetized on the regular, viewers being unsubscribed when they didn't unsubscribe, appearing far less in people's recommended sections. What do we do here?
Well, we unfortunately put all of our eggs in the Facebook basket back in the day. I mean, we've got 127,000 followers, which is good. I mean, it's a good number, right? But I would say that if I go live, I'm going to have, it doesn't matter if I've got the biggest star on the planet, I might get a couple hundred watching live. Couple hundred. Out of 127,000, give me a break, right? And then over on YouTube, we have not been able to migrate that 127,000 to YouTube. I mean, we get comments, and it's embarrassing, but I'll just tell you, folks, Real Progressives has been around since the beginning of the Bernie Sanders campaign. Real Progress in Action is what our YouTube channel is called. And if you go check it out, you'll see we have only got like 8,700 followers on YouTube. 8,700. We got 127,000 on Facebook, but 8,700 on YouTube. And it's just ridiculous. We cannot break out of the hole. And, our podcast, which is the thing that's in my background here, Macro and Cheese, this is an important podcast. I mean, I've had some of the biggest names in all of economics around the world on this show. And, we might get 7,000-8,000 listens a month. And I mean, that's chump change for a podcast. And so we don't break out of that. And we're on Rockfin now. I think you're on Rockfin as well. And we're just now starting to put content over there. But even Rockfin's hard to find. I mean, there's nothing for us out there. And you nailed it, man. You nailed it hard. We don't collaborate. There's too many egos. Not you and me, because you always are kind and bring me on, and I appreciate that immensely. But there are too many egos. And there is way too much what about meism out there instead of what about we. That whole not me, us thing should be our ethos regardless. And I really do believe that we have done our movement a great disservice by not being just truth tellers. Because I think that if we lift each other up, that we can break through that. It's going to require a whole lot more. And I'm going to put the onus on myself and others like me that we don't work together. We don't take the time to work together because it's a lot of work just to do this production. I mean, just how much effort you put in just to getting this thing live, much less all the other work. And you got to go out on the road, you're doing all this stuff, and you're doing it on a shoestring budget. I mean, the equipment, the software, all that stuff costs money, costs time, and it's difficult to say, oh, I got to care about what these folks are doing too. I get it. I think you hit the nail on the head though, Jordan. I think that it's up to us, people like us, to collaborate and build like a consortium together so that we are timing our live feeds, so that we're kind of working it in so that people are, hey, don't forget to check out those guys at Status Coup, or don't forget to check out those guys at Convo Couch, or don't forget to check out, Jimmy Dore or whoever, right? We should be doing more collaboration like that. And I think it's a shame that we don't. But you said something else too I want to nail. You may not talk about MMT that much, but I remember the first time I talked to you, Jordan, and you were like, oh, Schenck is, he's all for deficits. It's okay. And that was all you thought it was. You have grown. I mean, I'm telling you this as a friend, not as an alternative media guy. You have grown immensely. You know the stuff. When we talk, you're asking all the right questions. So that is a big time Yahoo thing for me, And I know for a fact that there are other groups out there that have had Stephanie on, had myself on, and others. So, I think that it's not nearly enough. But I do believe that you hit the nail on the head, that if we start collaborating together, finding ways to lift each other up and work together, because we're all in this fight together. Mm-hmm. Any one of us by ourselves is too small. Mm-hmm. We need each other. So
yeah, and I think people need to realize, because I saw a couple people in the super chat saying YouTube's not affecting you, blah 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 blah. No, it actually is, because the bottom line is, maybe if you think about it kind of as a seesaw, right? Basically, if the actual seesaw is made so that one side is always up and the other side is always down, it's not actually it's not actually going back and forth. YouTube basically admits this, by the way. It's in their new code of something. They said, we elevate, quote, authoritative outlets. They used the term authoritative and then said, like CNN, Fox News was included, and some other ones. While, I don't know what the term is, but basically minimizing less trustworthy news. The head of Facebook's news partnership said the same exact thing at a conference years ago. It came out recently that I actually spoke with someone at YouTube who told me, I was always thinking, am I a conspiracy theorist? Is there a list or something of like approved outlets versus not approved outlets? I found out there is a list, because we were trying, when we were on the campaign trail, we were trying to simply purchase ads. What that means is literally try and boost the videos to be seen more. Basically, to try and boost the videos to be seen at the amount they would be seen pre-YouTube changing its algorithm. And we kept getting denied, saying this is political advertising. So I was saying, and it's like easier to talk to a CIA, it's easier to talk to a government CIA official than get a human on the phone from YouTube. But I was saying, what the fuck are you talking about, a political campaign? I'm literally holding a microphone. I have a cameraman. We're journalists. We're not running a campaign. We're not supporting a candidate. I am in Iowa. I am in New Hampshire. I am in South Carolina. We were in the field getting denied the ability just to purchase ads. The same thing was happening on Facebook. Same thing with Twitter. They're not doing that to CNN. They're not doing that to MSNBC. They're not doing it to PBS. They're not doing it, frankly, to the Young Turks, who's supposedly independent, but that's a different story. So my point is, if the game is rigged, not just politically, but in the media, to basically elevate the status quo propagandists and their news and hide from status quo to real progressives, I mean, it's a major problem. Look at The Hill, for example. And Kyle brought this up on his show. I love Crystal Ball. I think that's a great show, Rising. It's one of the first things I watch in the morning. But their growth is not only because it's a great show, it's because it's The Hill. So YouTube's algorithm automatically elevates a more corporate outlet. I'm shocked and quite pleased that The Hill has let Crystal and Sagar do their thing. I hope that continues. It's very rare to see a corporate outlet like The Hill, which is corporate, have such progressive real talk. But they're being smart because they're seeing it's working, and the channel is rising. But a big reason it's rising, and that's the name, is because YouTube doesn't hide it. It's a corporate outlet, which it's always showing up in recommendeds. They also benefit because it goes on their actual website, thehill.com. A lot of their videos are shown there. So again, it's not crapping on them. To be clear, I love going on there. Their content is great. But Kyle even pointed out, I mean, Kyle's been around for, I think, over 10 years. They're almost about to lap Kyle on subscribers in less than a year. So like, it just shows you, yeah, they have great content, but it's being aided because they happen to be at a corporate outlet. We have very similar content, whether it's MMT, me covering the campaign in the field. It's a struggle. And I guess the whole point of bringing this all up for the audience is it really comes down to the audience. Obviously, right now is different because you could afford what you could afford during a pandemic. But people really need to make the decision, do you want independent media? Or is it a necessity that you need? Because if it's just something you want, you might not take that step to pay $5 a month or whatever it is. But if you think it's something you need, like water, or like, I don't want to compare it to water, but you get the point, then I suggest supporting whatever one you want, whether it's us, whether it's Real Progressives, whatever it is, because without...
Whether it's all of us.
Right. Because without it, I mean, I have a little ball... Status Coup, frankly, has a higher bar to meet because, just to travel in the field for one trip can run us $3,000 to $5,000. I mean, between a cameraman and me, you got flights, hotels, rent a car, food. That's how much it costs. Even when you're being frugal, that's how much it costs. Whereas other shows, once you get your studio together and other built-in costs, I don't want to say you're on cruise control, but there's just not as much cost. That's why when people say, Jordan, stop asking for money, I'm like, all right, do you want to fund the money? Do you want to provide the money?
$500 a month for live view.
Like, it's $500 just for our live view a month. Even if we don't go out, it's $500 for the data, for the server. So I guess my long rant is support independent media, and I think more independent media has to do collaboration. I mean, I'll tell you straight up, I text certain hosts when I'm in the field that are progressives. I don't always get a response. I mean, I'm not begging them, can I come on your show? But I think they get the hint why I'm in Louisville covering the demand for justice for Breonna Taylor, right? Or I'm in Flint. They still don't have clean water. And sometimes you don't even get that crowd boosting from your own sandbox. I'm sure you've had the same thing for years. So I think progressive outlets need to wake up because frankly, to me, Steve, the bottom line is nothing is going to change electorally. I agree it's not all electorally, but nothing is going to change electorally until you get through to the people over the age of 60.
Yep.
That is why Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, Obama, there's a lot of other reasons, including rigged elections. But you look at this last election, if it was just under 50, Bernie would have won in a landslide. Just Michigan, Bernie won every single age demographic under 50 by a significant margin. He got slaughtered above 50. What are they watching? MSNBC and CNN. They're reading the New York Times. But if independent media came together, if independent media had the actual infrastructure to reach older people that are being brainwashed, I think it's a good 50-50 chance that you could change some minds.
I don't disagree with you. I mean, I look at our numbers and our demographics, and ironically, we have a lot of boomers that follow us, and they are. It's weird, actually. I mean, when you look at the age groups, we have a fairly large number of volunteers even that are boomers that are into this. So they are willing. There are people out there that are willing to learn this stuff. They just need to have access to it. And folks, put your money where your mouth is. Put your time where your mouth is. I mean, this is, we're media, but we're part of you all. We're an extension of you all. I mean, this is a we thing, man. I mean, I'm not here just to cover random news. I'm here to change the world. So that my entire approach to things, I'll just tell you up front, is activism based. And so I'm hoping that the things that I'm fighting for are the things you're fighting for, and that we together can put them things over the top and win. That's my purpose in life and goal. And I believe, even though, Jordan, you cover everything, I have seen you relentlessly cover Flint, Michigan. I've seen you relentlessly cover people that are committing corrupt acts. I will never forget you at the 2016 convention. You were absolutely majestic there. You earned every bit of accolades you've ever had, every bit of credibility you've ever had. You have been a truth teller through and through. And I want to just tell everybody that's listening that I really value the work Status Coup does, and more importantly, the work that you do wherever you are, because you always bring it honest and truthful, and you put a lot of effort in, a lot of effort. So I want to really give you props there, buddy.
Thanks, man. And by the way, just to be clear, I love our viewers over 60. It's not, I'm not generalizing, but the truth is, even though there's a lot of woke older folks that are progressive, your generation, your some of the people you went to college with, unfortunately, have been brought astray. Because the data shows, even though there was plenty of older folks supporting from Bernie to Medicare for All to all these good things, so it's not a knock on you, the majority of older folks, they vote, and they vote for the Bidens of the world because they've been conditioned to accept less and think nothing big is possible, and that's unfortunate. Steve, thank you very much. I know you stepped away from your family today to join us, so thank you. Tell everyone where to go, because yes, a lot of people might not know when you're live on Facebook or these other places.
So just so you know, we're beginning September 1. We will no longer be at www.realprogressivesusa.com. We will be moving to our brand new website, which I'm extremely excited about, and that is www.realprogressives.org. We are a 501c3, so you get the benefit of being able to write your donations off to us as well. The other thing is that we're on Real Progress in Action on YouTube. So you've got the Real Progress in Action, which is a 501c4 to do our political wing, our real activism, and you got our 501c3 to do our education and stuff. And the most important thing right now for me is that if you guys get a chance, check out our podcast at www.macro, M-A-C-R-O, the letter N, cheese, CHEESE.com, and you will pick up on what I consider to be 80 episodes of the best podcast you could possibly listen to. So I'm biased, I admit, but I think that you all will find that those podcasts are worth your time. So Jordan, thank you for giving us that, buddy.
And I hope your current website redirects, because I put your current website in the description.
Absolutely. Okay. It will be redirected. Okay, good. No question.
Yeah, check them out.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot as far as MMT from Steve. I mean, Stephanie Kelton is the one, being quoted and all that, but Steve's been doing this too for a very long time without the fanfare. So thanks for coming on. We'll try to do this more regularly because the truth is, I mean, Republicans, Democrats, there's no need for these negotiations. They have the money. If it's a crisis for rich people, they come up with the money real quick. They just move the decimal point digitally. They don't ask how you're going to pay for it. But when it's a crisis for you and I, and black people, and brown people, and indigenous people, and working white people, we got to have weeks-long negotiations, all this theatrics, the deadline clocks start going on CNN, and it's all bullshit theater. That's the reality. It's all bullshit theater. We have the money to not only keep people's jobs, but actually protect the economy so we could focus on what will get us out of this, which is stopping the transmission of the virus. That is the reality. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.
You got it, brother. Talk to you soon.
All right. So that was Steve Grumbine. I love having Steve. I'm going to try to have him on more because I think this went really, really well. Thank you for everybody watching. I'm not done though because I got one more story, and I'm going to try not to rant, but I might. Jacqueline DeBlue. 100 pounds. 100 pounds across the pond. From my hermit cave today, I've learned about real progressives, MMT, won't pretend I understand. That's okay, I didn't really get it at first either. And more crucially, fakakta and all its alternative spellings. Oh, I love it. My grandma, may she rest in peace, used to say that a lot. Status Coup, you never let me down. On a different topic, has anyone seen Mike Figueredo's informative segment on the Shawhead rumors? First of all, I want to say hello to Mama Coup. I think my mother's in the super chat, so I'll be my best behavior. Hello, Mother. I did not see Mike's segment on Shawhead's rumors. So no, I haven't seen it. Me personally, I'm going to be 100% honest. I haven't really looked into the rumors with Shahid. I was on vacation with my now fiance, who I proposed to. I read a little bit about accusations against him, this and that. I just haven't looked into it. That's the best answer I have for you. Jen has looked into it a little bit more than I have. She told me, she's not here today. She's on a little mini vacay for her kid's birthday. That not that there was anything sexual assault or anything like that. She did not feel there was validity to that accusation, but Jen did feel there was credence and there was inappropriate verbal yelling and just treatment of staffers by Shahid. But me personally, I haven't looked into it enough to really speak intelligently about it. I like what he stands for on policies, but I can't really speak. I can't speak to how he is as to people verbally, whether he screamed at people. I don't know. I really don't. But yeah, if Jacqueline, if you suggest Mike's video, I will check it out. Definitely. So before I move on to the next segment, I just want to remind people, because people might have come in late. Listen, I always keep it real. We are hemorrhaging members right now. We were over 1,900 before COVID started. We've lost over 200. We're actually at let me lower that because we're a little lower now. We're at 1,703 members. It's not because we changed. It's because people are losing their jobs and all that. So we totally get the people that have had to cancel. That's why we're trying to, persuade, give a little incentive for people to sign up. If you haven't signed up yet, if you sign up today or this week, you're going to get a free Status Coup mask. To be clear, this is not a CDC certified mask or anything like that, so we can't guarantee you this is the best mask to wear. But it will cover your nose, it will cover your mouth, have our logo. So that's an extra perk for signing up as a member, in addition to the behind-the-scenes videos you get as a Status Coup member. I just posted one video before this live stream, so you could go check out my members video on statuscoup.com, click on member content. If you sign up as an annual member today, so regular membership is, you could sign up for as low as $5. That's $5 a month. If you sign up as an annual member for $179 annually, you will get both a free mask and a free shirt. So definitely sign up if you can afford it. If you can't, totally understand. So I don't know who that guy modeling the mask is, to be perfectly honest. I really don't. But he's a good-looking fella. So I have to cover this because it, to me, is everything wrong with the Democratic Party. Not that the Republican Party is great, but I got to cover this because it really bothers me. So if you recall, earlier this year, Jen and I broke a pretty massive story. We actually did it for Vice on essentially the Flint water cover-up. We broke the story that former Michigan Governor Rick Snyder, right there, was warned a year before the Flint water was switched. So in 2013, he was warned by environmental officials that if the Flint River was used as a water source, that it could propose health problems to Flint residents. If the Flint River was used as a water source, it would produce health problems for Flint residents. Not only was he warned about that before the water switch, 6 months after the water switch in 2014, he learned that there was a Legionella outbreak, a deadly waterborne bacteria outbreak in Flint's water. He learned that a few weeks before he was reelected. A few weeks before he was up for reelection, he was reelected, and he and his top administration officials helped to cover it up and not get that news out to the Flint residents when there was still time to save lives. So he said he first learned about it in January 2016. We found out, Jen and I, through a long investigation, he learned about it 16 months earlier. We also learned that he basically intimidated, threatened the Flint mayor to try and get her to declare the water fine when it was not fine. And we also learned that the new governor, Gretchen Whitmer, who has become a resistance hero. I mean, just look at this. And here's, if you never read our bombshell Flint story for Vice, I just dropped it in the super chat. I mean, the media has just basically slobbered itself over Gretchen Whitmer to the point that it's just kind of embarrassing, to tell you the truth. Let me find you this piece. I mean, look at this New York Times piece on Gretchen Whitmer, a governor on her own with everything at stake. That woman from Michigan, remember that? Because Trump called her that. I mean, the puff pieces on Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, have been unrelenting positive coverage of her. Basically, the media, MSNBC, CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, elevating her as, a resistance hero, has elevated her, now we find out, to a top contender to become Joe Biden's vice president. This came out that Whitmer traveled to meet Biden in person a week ago. So during a deadly pandemic that, to her credit, I think she's done a decent job in Michigan. I think the lockdown, even though these don't tread on me Republicans didn't like it and marched the Michigan Capitol against her, I think she did a good job, as good a job as you could do during a deadly pandemic. But during that pandemic, she just met with Biden. So you're not getting to that stage, you're not getting invited to meet with Biden if you're not a top contender for vice president. Frankly, if not for George Floyd, if not for Breonna Taylor, if not for this explosion in Black Lives Matter protests around the country, I think it would have been either Amy Klobuchar or Gretchen Whitmer. I think Biden wanted to pick a moderate, and I don't really think he felt the need to pick a woman of color. I think he would have gravitated to Gretchen Whitmer, thinking that would help him win Michigan, because Democrats need to win back Michigan. So I think it's before George Floyd and before these protests, it would have been very possible to me that Gretchen Whitmer could have become the vice president. I don't think she's going to become vice president now, but again, she did just meet with Biden, so it's got to be under some consideration if she advanced to meeting with him. So I felt she's clearly under serious consideration, so why don't I report what the corporate media won't tell you? So to be clear, as somebody who has covered the Flint water crisis for 5 years now, if you look what I tweeted today, I'm going to start doing more of this. It's been 2,298 days since Flint, Michigan had clean water. They still don't have clean water during a deadly pandemic. That would be over 6 years for those that can't do the math. It's now been 422 days since Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel, a Democrat, mind you, dropped all of the remaining charges against 8 top state officials who many of them were top officials for Governor Rick Snyder. She dropped all of the remaining charges. The explanation she gave for dropping those charges didn't make a lot of sense to me. She basically threw the former prosecutor under the bus, saying that former prosecutor messed up, and as a result, I have to drop all the charges, even though that previous prosecutor that she threw under the bus as the reason for dropping all the charges, because he messed up, had convinced 2 separate judges that Snyder's top 2 cabinet officials had to face jury trial. A judge had already ruled that the 2 top state officials that were charged, the health department, the Michigan Health Department director, and the chief medical officer, had to face jury trials for involuntary manslaughter. She dropped charges against them and 6 others. So Gretchen Whitmer, to be clear, and this is important. You might not live in Flint, but the fact that an American city has still not been made whole. I mean, they're never going to be made completely whole. People died, people are sick. People I speak with every day are still sick. No Medicare for all for the people of Flint. They're not getting any special attention during coronavirus. Their immune systems, not just old people, but young people, are forever damaged. So this is important because we expect, okay, we're told you got to vote blue. We got to get Rick Snyder. He's up. He's term limited. Got to get a Democrat in here to help Flint, to do all the things that Snyder wouldn't do for Flint. And, on paper, when she was running, she talked a really good talk for Flint. For those of you in Michigan, remember, she pledged to restore the free water service. Flint had about 7 or 8 water pods, they called it, around the city. This is where the state-funded water, the free water bottles, were distributed throughout the crisis. Governor Rick Snyder in 2018 declared Flint's water restored. We reported and broke the story that declaration was complete BS. His environmental department cooked the books and manipulated the testing by flushing people's water before taking the test, which is illegal. So the data can't be depended on that they used. So he shut down those water pods. And when Gretchen Whitmer was running, she pledged, after she won, she pledged, I'm going to bring back bottled water for Flint. Right here. After the Governor Rick Snyder administration made the call in April to stop giving out bottled water to Flint residents, his successor said she will bring back the program. If you don't believe me, listen to what she said during a debate when she was running for governor.
Couple months ago, and I was talking to a mom. She pulled her sleeve up and showed me the rash up and down. So I think about the parents of Flint every time I turn on my tap. I was in Flint at church a couple months ago, and I was talking to a mom. She pulled her sleeve up and showed me the rash up and down her arm from taking a shower that morning before church. She only bathes her kids once a week because they all break out like that. My plan to fix the problem in Flint starts with expediting the replacement of the pipes, refurbishing the replacement of bottled water until every pipe is replaced, and real wraparound supports for the children of Flint. 8,000 children in Flint brush their teeth every night with water that had lead on it. And you know what? They called the Attorney General. They asked 15 times. They filed complaints over the course of 2 years and were ignored. He signed off on the initial order that permitted the switch to the Flint River. But for that, maybe they wouldn't have been brushing their teeth that long with the replacement of the pipes, refurbishing the replacement of bottled water until every pipe is replaced, and real wraparound supports.
So you heard that, right? You heard that. She talked about the refurbishment of the free water. You got it right here. Whitmer pledges to bring back bottled water for Flint. She pledged to do that when she was running, and she pledged to do it as governor-elect. This is December 26, 2018, right before she was inaugurated. It is now 1.5 years later. 1.5 years later, those free water pods that she pledged to bring back, they're still closed. She hasn't reopened them. Snyder shut them down. She said she was going to reopen them. They're still closed. To this day, remember, 2,298 days since the switch. We're talking 2014. Next year will be 7 years. To this day, there are still lines at churches for free bottled water, but it's not bottled water that is coming from the state of Michigan and Governor Gretchen Whitmer. They are not paying for the bottled water. By the way, this was before the pandemic. So you could say, well, Jordan, how are they going to pay for bottled water for the citizens of Flint during a pandemic where they're losing all of this money and there's major state budget shortfalls? She didn't restore it before the pandemic, which she said she would. Thank you. Brian Frederick, $1.99. Why exactly is Biden considering Whitmer for vice president? Well, after I show you all of this, that's a great question that people should ask him. So, I don't know. I was told, I'm not living in Michigan. I'm not a voter in Michigan, but when I was there covering Flint, I was there on election day when Gretchen Whitmer won. I was told, we got to vote for a Democrat. They will rescue Flint out of this 8-year Republican demolition, out of this terrible Snyder administration who presided over our poisoning. We'll get our free water bottle back. Well, free water back until the lead service lines are replaced. We will get better health care for residents that have been affected, including children. We will get. In that clip I showed you, she also talked about expediting the replacement of the lead service lines in Flint. If you don't really know what that means, basically for service lines, which the water travels from the water plant through the main pipes under the street, and then there's service lines from the curb that goes into your house. So the service lines, the state of Michigan, Snyder fought tooth and nail. He didn't want to pay for it. His administration didn't want to pay for it. But a lawsuit filed by a Flint resident and other charities won a settlement for $97 million to go towards lead service line replacement, because the service lines that distribute the water were destroyed by that toxic Flint River water for 18 months. So she said, as governor, she was going to expedite the process of replacing those lead service lines. Well, she said that when she was running, but then when she got in as governor, that turned into, I don't want to micromanage Flint's pipe replacement program. Governor Gretchen Whitmer says her administration is working with Flint's leaders to finish replacing the lead service lines. Since Flint's water crisis, the city has been replacing lead and galvanized steel service lines connecting homes to city water mains. The pipes were a primary source of lead particles, which contaminated the city's drinking water. The Snyder administration was critical of the city's decision to excavate pipes rather than use a cheaper inspection tool to determine which service line needed to be replaced. In Flint, Tuesday, Whitmer struck a different tone. Quote, "We're not micromanaging every decision that's made," Whitmer told reporters. "I just want to make sure it comes in on time and on budget, and that people in Flint can have confidence that the water coming out of their tap is clean." Huh. So you ran for governor saying, I'm on it. I'm going to make sure this is expedited. Do you know that over 6 years later, not every lead service line in Flint has been replaced? Do you think if this was a wealthy white neighborhood, those lead service lines would have been replaced possibly in less than 6 months? You're talking 6 years. There are still busted, corroded service lines in Flint, Michigan. I thought she was going to bring back the free water pods so that poisoned children and parents and seniors could get free water. Probably helpful during a deadly pandemic, don't you think? Right now, people are waiting online for donated water bottles at churches, which is not covering the whole city, obviously. There's not enough donations 6 years later. She said she's going to expedite the replacement of lead service lines. Hasn't done that. Why not? Can somebody explain why that woman from Michigan, why this resistance hero has never been asked about this? She's been asked about it by me. But what's stopping Governor Whitmer from helping the people of Flint even before the coronavirus pandemic? This one gets me too. Through sources I have on the ground, usually when a Democrat administration comes in, they generally don't generally don't keep a lot of the top officials for the Republican administration. Biden might, because he is a Republican. Thank you, Jedi Mullet. 77, $10. A politician says one thing, does nothing. What a shock. Correct. But I got to report on it anyway. In 2017, under Governor Rick Snyder, this gentleman was appointed as the head of the state of Michigan Drinking Water Division. So the environmental department has several divisions. One of them is for drinking water. Kind of important who you're going to appoint to run the drinking water division during a water crisis in a major city, right? Well, Governor Snyder appointed, there's a new guy running the drinking water division at the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality. Eric Oswald served 12 years of active duty in the Air Force. He spent the last 5 years as a commander at the Air National Guard base in Battle Creek. And he's not a he's not a drinking water expert. My background is not from drinking water. I'm a civil engineer, but I'm a veteran of the United States Air Force. I'm an Air Force officer. It's not a normal path into the Department of Environmental Quality. My engineering background and my experience in infrastructure kind of lends itself well to the current circumstances. As somebody who's reported on Flint for 5 years, I could tell you the chemistry of water is a lot more complicated than structural engineering. You have to understand water treatment, adding chemicals to water, how much chlorine do you add to water, how much phosphates do you add to water, what could be too much, what could be too little, different sections of town, how old infrastructure is in different sections of town. It's a lot more than engineering. And Governor Snyder appointed somebody who doesn't know a damn thing about water. And guess who kept him? He's still there, running the drinking water division of Michigan's environmental department. Democrat Gretchen Whitmer has kept this guy on for reasons I have no idea. When she was running, Governor Whitmer promised to appoint a water ombudsman. Residents' concerns about drinking water will no longer fall on deaf ears. The new Department of Great Lakes and Freshwater will include a water ombudsman who will investigate any drinking water complaint from the public. This office will have a direct line of communication to the governor and will coordinate with other departments to address any water issues. Well, folks, I looked. Only thing I've found so far is a clean air ombudsman. Now, I ain't knocking clean air. I think it's great to have an official as the liaison between the government and people about air pollution. But as far as I could see, unless they're tricking me, or unless they're hiding it, she hasn't appointed anyone, any state official, to be an ombudsman for clean water. 2 years later, that was when she was running, she promised that. This is an article from this year. To make good on her campaign promises, Whitmer promised a water ombudsman to handle complaints who would have a, quote, direct line of communication to the governor. She also said there would be an increased emphasis on environmental justice. This is from March of this year. Still no water ombudsman. Just to kind of give you an idea of how Gretchen Whitmer views politics or how hard she's willing to fight, this is from the story Jen and I broke for Vice. Again, if you've never read it, please read it. I'm very proud of it. It's the biggest story I've ever worked on in my career. Jen and I broke it together. Michigan's Governor Gretchen Whitmer has publicly acknowledged that the testing of Flint's water was done improperly, but hasn't reopened Flint's free water stations that she had promised to reinstate in 2018 as governor-elect. People familiar with discussions that took place between Whitmer and Weaver, who was at the time Flint's mayor, told Vice that Whitmer said she couldn't get additional funding from the Republican-controlled state legislature to keep Flint water relief help centers open later or to fix corroded plumbing inside Flint's homes because lawmakers had, quote, Flint fatigue. Let me repeat that. She couldn't get money to keep help centers open later. These help centers were specifically for Flint water issues. She couldn't get money to help replace interior plumbing because that's been a subject completely ignored. So they're only focusing on changing the lead service lines. Again, that's from if you have a home, from the curb to your valve. So from the curb through your grass into the house. That's the lead service line. They haven't touched residents' interior plumbing. Well, do you think Flint's River, just the toxic, dirty water that had lead, bacteria, and all sorts of other shit in it, do you think it just fucked up the pipes in the main pipe, in the service lines, but then just like stopped and didn't destroy the pipes inside the homes? Jesus could bless the water now, and it could go through brand new pipes. But if it then gets inside your interior plumbing, which is corroded with lead, copper, other heavy metals, you still can be consuming high qualities of lead and other things. She tells the mayor at the time, and I had multiple sources who confirmed this was what she said, Republicans won't do it. The legislature, including some Democrats, by the way, they're just done with this topic of Flint's water crisis. We got Flint fatigue. Kelly Elaine, $25. Thanks for the follow-up on Flint. No one else will let us know what's really going on. I will do it as long as I've got air in my lungs. I'll stay on Flint. And I'd like to go back there at some point soon, when it's safe. So you're telling me, as the governor, the Democratic governor of Michigan, we were told, vote blue no matter who. We can't have another Republican win after Snyder. We got to get a Democrat in here. Your hands are completely tied. You can't go in front of a camera. You can't go in front of a microphone. You can't fight the Republicans who won't give any more money to Flint. You can't do anything for Flint because the Republicans won't let you. Have they put duct tape over your mouth too, Governor Whitmer? Have they stripped your ability to hold a press conference? Have they stripped your ability to go on local media or national media or call the New York Times or the Washington Post and immediately get a story slamming the Republicans for abandoning Flint? Are you incapable? Maybe legitimately you can't get the money because the Republicans are blocking it. Are you incapable of fighting for the people of Flint? Are they blocking your mouth and your will? Maybe you won't get everything, but if you don't fight at all, you get nothing. And even if you don't mean it, it's kind of good politics to appear like you're fighting for people that have been poisoned. That would be good for you politically. Flint fatigue. Well, if the Republican legislature is fatigued and tired of it, imagine how the people of Flint 6 years later are feeling. They don't have clean water. They don't have Medicare for all. They can't, people say, oh, why don't they just move? You try selling a house in Flint, Michigan without clean water, destroyed pipes. Their home value has been destroyed. There has still not been a settlement or a victory 6 years later in civil suits. The $180 million that was funded by Obama's Congress, everybody says, Jordan, what are you talking about? They haven't gotten help. Congress passed $180 million to go to Flint. Why don't you go talk to the people of Flint, the leading activists, the leading experts and politicians, the few that do tell the truth? Ask them how much of that $180 million actually went to Flint water relief. rather than being diverted by Republican Governor Rick Snyder to donors, real estate developers, banks, and think tanks. This is the Democrat governor who's been just showered, slobbering adoration in the media from the New York Times, from the Washington Post. I mean, again, look at this New York Times cover. A governor on her own with everything at stake. My God, what a hero. And to be clear, in fairness, Governor Whitmer did not cause the Flint water crisis. She wasn't the governor at the time. I think she was a state senator in Michigan's legislature. She's not responsible for poisoning the people of Flint at all. But if we're sold nationally and on a state level, vote blue no matter who, because things like the Flint water crisis won't happen, or we'll help make the people whole if we get the right people in there that actually give a damn about minorities, that actually give a damn about the environment, that actually stand against corruption, that will fight for the people, that will undo the damage that Republican governor and his administration, Rick Snyder, did, that will reopen those free water pods so Flint residents could get free water bottles. Do you know how expensive it is to continually go buy carts of free water? It's expensive if you have money. Try being poor. Flint has 42% poverty. It's 53% black. So you might not have caused it, but you're not fixing it. You're not expediting anything. And you've basically thrown up your hands and said, I can't do anything. There's Flint fatigue. Now let me run to MSNBC, CNN, where I go on as a guest all the time, as I try to angle and maneuver my way to be Joe Biden's vice president, probably thinking, wow, I might be president in 4 years or sooner if he picks me. This is literally what's gone on. She has literally been angling to become Joe Biden's vice president during this pandemic. You think it's a coincidence she's on CNN, MSNBC constantly? So if the standard is she better than Rick Snyder? Yeah, but what does it matter if she's better if the problem is still the problem? If the problem is still the same? Somebody could be better if you're checking certain boxes, but if the results are basically the same, what is the fucking point? And this is personal to me. I've been there 15 times. No, I don't live in Flint. I don't have to worry day to day about clean water, even though there's water problems everywhere, including New York. But it's personal to me because I've been there 15 times. I've gotten to know the residents. Some of them are some of my closest friends, beyond just people I've interviewed. And I don't know, call me crazy. I have a major problem with Americans being poisoned. Black, brown, white, purple, doesn't matter. I have a major problem with American citizens being poisoned, or non-citizens, because there's undocumented people that were poisoned there too, and then being left to die by both the Republicans and the Democrats. Yeah, I have a fucking problem with that. And I think if you're a journalist and you don't have a problem with that, then maybe you should find something else to do. If you're a journalist and think this is some story that was yesterday and isn't still a thing and isn't still a crisis, then you shouldn't be a journalist. Unfortunately, most journalists do think that way. I don't think Gretchen Whitmer is going to be chosen for vice president for the reasons I already said. I think it's going to be a woman of color. I think it should be a woman of color, even though it's most likely not going to be one that I agree with politically. I think it's a good step for the country anyway to get a woman of color on a national ticket, possibly to have a woman anything, president or vice president, would obviously be historic. I might not like them politically, but I don't want to pretend that it wouldn't be a big deal. But If we had actual journalism in this country, if we had journalists that weren't just ladder climbing ass kissers, that just kiss the ass of politicians 24/7 to move up the ladder and get contracts to be guests on cable news or contracts to become columnists in papers, it's way more lucrative than what I'm doing. Make no mistake. What they do by bending down to power is much more, you will make a lot more money, become a lot more famous, sell a lot more books than what I or Jen do at Status Coup. That's okay. I'm not in this for money. Although we do need to raise more money, frankly. So again, sign up as a member, statuscoup.com/join. $5 a month. I also haven't pushed it at all today, but we are just less than $7,000 away. Wow. Less than $7,000 to go till we hit our goal on GoFundMe of a $120,000 raised. It's just amazing that we've raised this much money from 1,600 people. This has been the never-ending, a truly never-ending GoFundMe. We started it in 2018. We met our goal of $85,000, and then we stopped. But then we kind of took it out of hibernation, I guess you could say, at the beginning of this pandemic, just because we had no choice. We were losing so many members that we restarted the GoFundMe to try and kind of offset the costs of the members we were losing, because we've lost a lot of members due to people understandably losing their jobs and those kind of things. So thank you to everyone who's donated. We just passed 113,000 the other day. Anything you could do is appreciated. If you can't, we get that as well. Because this money, by the way, is the only reason we've been able to go. I think with the Young Turks, I don't remember how many times I went, but with Status Coup, I've been there 5 times alone with Status Coup because of that GoFundMe. Jen and I would have never broken the Vice story without the money from GoFundMe to go cover and investigate. I would have never broken this at all if I didn't have the money, first from TYT and now with my own company, to go there repeatedly. That's how you build sources. That's how you find out where the bodies are buried. That's how you get documents. That's how you build trust. That's how we broke that story. And I'm working on another story right now too, by the way. So I just think to button this up, I think it's outrageous that a man or a woman, in this case a woman, can basically be the beneficiary of an extreme makeover by the corporate media. Both the local press in Michigan, which is abysmal, and the national press. They have basically concocted an image of this governor, Whitmer, into some fighter because she's verbally tough and whatever symbolically tough against Trump, while she is selling the poisoned people of Flint pretty much down the Flint River. She has the power, she had the money to open up the free water pods that she said she was going to do. Could you imagine if a Republican was running for governor to replace Rick Snyder in Flint, in Michigan, and pledged, I'm going to reopen those water pods, and then he didn't do that? Can you imagine the resistance then? What they would be screaming and hollering at that Republican governor if he had pledged to reopen the free water pods for Flint residents and then didn't do it? Quiet as a mouse over Gretchen Whitmer's broken promises to Flint. Quiet as a mouse that they still have not replaced all the lead service lines. Quiet as a mouse, she's never mentioned once that Flint residents should get Medicare for all. This is the vote blue no matter who. This is what you're getting, federally and national, on the state level. I'm not telling you how to vote. Like I've said, I get it if you want to vote for Biden because you just need to get Trump out of there and get Trump out and then we'll fight Biden. I get that mentality. Do what you got to do. But the reality is, this is what you're getting. I also have reason to think part of why, a significant part of why she hasn't followed through on her promises for Flint has to do with where her money comes from. And that is something I'm investigating and looking into behind the scenes. Because she has done fundraisers and received money from a lot of powerful Michigan donors that have financial incentive for the Flint water crisis to be over, to not be a thing anymore. So I'll stay on this, and things right now, we're still monitoring things. My hope is to be back in the field in the next few weeks. Right now, I just don't think it's a good idea to go back in the field. There's so many states that have skyrocketed increasing cases of COVID. Frankly, there's mixed literature out there on whether you could get it twice. I have read cases and I have spoken with doctors who said that they've seen patients that can get it twice. So I'm not, I'm just being careful. I also have to think about my fiance. It's not just me anymore. So I need to think about, if I go somewhere, I could get it again and be asymptomatic and transfer it to my fiance who's never had it. And even healthy people, she has a stronger immune system than I do, but there have been athletes that run crazy amount of miles, ski, all these things that have died from this. So it's a really delicate line between taking calculated risks, like, for example, the road trip we took a couple of weeks ago, where we went through New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Ohio, into Louisville, Kentucky. And I looked at Earl Viney. Hey, Jordan, I'm 61, and this payroll tax cut will destroy Social Security. I will be voting Trump out. Hey, Earl, I think you missed the entire first interview I did. Payroll tax cut has nothing to do with Social Security. That's just propaganda. I'm cool if you want to vote Trump out, but the payroll tax doesn't actually fund Social Security. That's just propaganda. Social Security is not funded by taxes. We just print the money for Social Security like everything else. So definitely watch the first interview I did, because that's just not true that the payroll tax covers Social Security and Medicare. That's just what you've been brainwashed to think. No offense. Roseanne Rabiola Meile, $5. People are really lazy and don't care to change. I agree. So before I go, let me answer questions, comments, concerns. Of course, we'll go to our super chats first. Would love to speak with you. Last call. I haven't gotten any new members yet, so kind of bummed. I haven't seen any new member signups. Let me see if I missed any. Oh, I lie. Welcome new Status Coup member Lisa. Woohoo! Welcome new Status Coup member Logan. Welcome new Status Coup member Lee. Woohoo! So we have gotten 3 new Status Coup members, bringing us to 1,706. I will look later at the amounts they signed up for, but as a reminder, before we go, maybe we could get rapid fire a couple new members. If you sign up today as a new member at the $5 level, you'll get a free mask, or any level under annual, you'll get a free mask mailed to you. If you sign up as an annual member, so any level under annual, meaning monthly, if you sign up for $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month, you'll get a free mask. If you sign up as an annual member, which is $179 annually, you will get both a Status Coup mask and Status Coup shirt. It's a good deal. And, this is honestly what we have to do, because we have to try and grow our membership. We've lost a lot of members, unfortunately, because of COVID. We grew a ton of members during the campaign. We grew over 600 members. Unfortunately, we've lost now over 200 of those members. So we're now back to 1,706. And I just ask you, honestly, I truly mean this. How badly do you want independent, in the field, investigative reporting? I mean, it really comes down to you. I mean, I could try to sell it till I'm blue in the face. But obviously, if you're in a financial situation where even $5 a month is something you can't afford, then I understand, and I don't want to make your situation any worse. So make no mistake, this is not a place to shame anyone. If you can't afford it, totally get it. But if you do have $5 a month, or you do have $10 a month, or you're one of those people that could afford upfront to pay for an annual membership, put aside the things you get, because you get the great behind the scenes videos. I just posted one this morning, reading to you a bonkers email I got from somebody yelling at me that I didn't hop on a plane and go cover the explosion in Lebanon, reprimanding me for not being biblical enough for them. I'm not making this up. That's an email I got this morning for not going to cover the biblical catastrophe in Lebanon. So I read that with a not laughing. The monthly members calls you get, we'll be doing another one this week through Zoom. Why I think it's super important, and I'm also going to be honest with you, as an individual, this company needs to grow for me to keep doing this. You know, I have a fiance now. I don't want to get into details, but we're looking to move at some point to a home. So I'm going to have more bills. We want to have children at some point, not imminently, but you know, sooner than later. I'm no spring chicken. I'm 34. I'm not making a ton. You know, I'm not making a good life salary right now because this is a startup, and as the CEO of the startup, I have chosen to try and spend money elsewhere: travel, advertising, social media, freelancers, paying for Jen, paying for Colin, paying for Marcus while he was here, paying for Jamal. I have chosen to try and grow it rather than take a higher amount for myself. So to spend money and resources elsewhere rather than taking for myself. Because the only way I'm going to grow individually is if we grow as a company. But at a certain point, you know, I can't be making less than $40,000 a year. I mean, I've taken a massive, I'm just being honest, I've taken a massive pay cut doing this. And I love what I do, but there are realities, you know. If short of a massive investor, which we are very particular, we're not just going to get anyone to invest because they need to be aligned with our values, short of a huge cash infusion into the company, you know, money don't grow on trees, and I need to make more money, and Status Coup needs to grow. So, you know, I hope people consider, do you want independent in the field media, or do you need it? Because if you don't feel this is necessary, if you don't consider independent media, I'm not talking about the people that just do commentary. I'm not knocking them. Commentary is great. I think all of them bring a lot to the table. But that's different than Status Coup. As far as I know, we are the only independent, progressive, investigative media outlet that actually goes out in the field, in the trenches, and does this. We go out in the field. We've been all over this country in the last 2 years.
Standing Rock. I've been with you. I've been with you since Standing Rock.
Wow, you got me on right now. We're doing it, baby. We're going to South Bend. It's time you show the real Mayor Pete.
In 100 days, they tore down 1,000 houses in 100 days.
Thank you, whether it's Standing Rock or Flint or everything else you do. You know, you guys, it's not even like watching news. It's just watching truth, you know.
It's not me and you, Jordan. It's the ruling class. It's David Koch. It's the Walton family, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk. It's them, not us, that benefit from these illegal offensive wars.
Come on over here. Whoa!
We're here at the Bellagio in Las Vegas, and you are going to see live the actual caucus process. We are here.
We go out in the field, and we give the microphone back to the people.
Yo! Coup! I know who you are, yo!
How you doing, man?
You the man, yo!
By the way, that came from a viewer. A viewer made that and is working on another one for us, which we're paying him for. Douglas. So thank you to Douglas. That's a great short promo video. By the way, thank you for the $50. Janice in the GoFundMe. Now at 113,100. So the GoFundMe also is a huge help. So we're less than $7,000 to go in our GoFundMe. Drop in the link right there. So, yeah, it's up to you. I mean, sometimes I get a little grief. People saying, Jordan, stop asking for money. Well, I don't know If I could fund this all on my own, I would have done it. We're not asking you for money to like go to the casino. We're asking you for money to cover forgotten communities. We're asking you for money to cover ignored people, ignored injustice, ignored and buried corruption. That's what the ask is for. You know, frankly, there's people on YouTube with much larger platforms that don't have to verbally ask as much because they've been doing this a lot longer, and they had the very, very good fortune of being able to grow an audience without being hidden and suppressed and demonetized for years. They were not dealing with that. You know, I love Jimmy Dore. He also had the benefit of the Young Turks promoted the hell out of his show while he was on the Young Turks for years. I mean, he's grown it since then to great proportions, but there's a lot of channels that had a lot of advantages that we just haven't had. I mean, it's a fight just to get on some of these bigger shows. They don't tend to invite you on a lot, but they have the same old people on every week, but they don't have investigative people on. So all I'm saying is you really have to think about, to me, this is how I've always lived my life, not just professionally, but personally. Actions speak louder than words. Might sound cliche, but it's just the truth. Who's in the trenches and who's not? Because frankly, just ranting and commentating, it's good. It gives people somewhere to go and learn and be informative, but it's not actually going to create change. You don't create change by just commenting on the news. You create change by getting in the trenches, getting in the trenches, getting dirty, finding where the bodies are buried, and exposing it. And when you expose it, you wake more people up. And if exposing injustice and corruption, then you give the progressive movement and other people outside the progressive movement, by exposing it, you actually activate people to do something about it. So that's my spiel. I hope you sign up as a member, again, for as low as $5. Welcome, new Status Coup member Michelle just signed up. Woohoo! So now at 1,704. 4 new members so far. So keep signing up. Statuscoup.com/join. All right, let me read a couple comments before I go. We could tax billionaires, sure, but that is a separate argument from government needing to spend as it's their job. Separate things. I agree. Henry, I remember the mid-90s after being retrained to do computer drafting, some asshole temp agency telling me the rates are coming down. Doesn't surprise me. Anani Moose, yes, Jordan, actions speak louder. We need more people like that. I agree. Zeps88, know your enemy. Reese, please don't give me nightmares. Things are bad enough. I don't know what you're talking about. Christina, more so. We just got another one. Welcome, new Status Coup member, Walter. Woohoo! Walter's in the house. Walter's in the house. Thank you, guys. Keep signing up. 1,708 members. And by the way, we got a lot of ground to make up. We were at over 1,900 before coronavirus started, so it's going to take a little while to even get back to that point, and then hopefully get back to on our road to 2,000 and more. Kelly Elaine, I've noticed more are trying to do what you do in the trenches, but no one does an interview like Jordan, and they only do it because you've set a new standard. Oh, that's nice, Kelly. I honestly would love to know who you're talking about. I don't mean that like condescendingly. I'm curious who's out in the field that maybe I just have never seen them, and I'll check them out. Somebody mentioned Convo Couch goes out in the field, so I've seen some of I know that they were out on the campaign trail, and I think they did some good stuff there. But if there's other outlets out in the field, I mean, as far as I know, you got Unicorn Riot that just did amazing work covering the early George Floyd protests, and that gave them a humongous growth on Twitter. I think they raised like $1 million in donations, I read in The Guardian, during the George Floyd protests. Jesus, what I would do for some of that. They're based in Minneapolis, so they had the good fortune of being in the right place at the right time, but they just kicked ass anyway during it. Unicorn Riot. That's really the only ones I know, other than the campaign, when there's not a campaign, that go out in the field and cover stories. I guess the Real News does sometimes locally where they're based. I think they're based in Maryland. Democracy Now! Once in a blue moon. But really all I see, honestly, is like outlets out covering protests that everyone else is covering, or conferences when things were being gone in person, or primary nights, like out there when everyone is out there, including the corporate media. I don't see those outlets in Flint. I don't see those outlets covering random pipelines. I certainly didn't see those outlets out there interviewing people on a reporting road trip that were facing the economic cliff with COVID, or waitresses that had to quit because their employers were putting them in unsafe conditions, or even out there in Louisville giving a voice to the people over Breonna Taylor's death. I haven't seen people doing that. If there are, please let me know. I mean, you got documentary filmmakers sometimes, but not an outlet. Oh, did Tim Black recently say that? Yeah. I won't give my opinion on him and that. So, all gas, no brakes interviews, average people. That's a good way of saying it. Thanks, Status Coup. See you all next time. See ya. Appreciate it. Can we get a couple more membership sign-ups before I sign up? Wouldn't that be nice? We've gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new members so far. Oh, if we could get that number up, I'd be so happy. Whoa! Anonymous just donated $100 in the GoFundMe. Holy cow! Thank you so much, Anonymous. We really appreciate that. Now we're at 113,200. So that would be, if my math is serving me right, $6,800 from our ultimate goal of 120,000, which we're not raising. We're keeping our goal at 120,000. Thank you so much to whoever just donated. I really appreciate it. I don't want to get into Tim Black. I'm not a fan. I'll leave it at that. Sorry. Yeah, I think Real News does a really good job. Gotta love Anonymous. Yes, had a great time today. Great. We're going to cut up my interview with Steve Grumbine into shorter clips. Thank you, Jordan. Best stream ever. Woo, appreciate it. Rod Weber covers a lot as an individual. He's on the front lines at Standing Rock. He has been to the Chop and Portland and covers much here in Boston. Oh, I think I've seen his work. I'll check that out. Thanks for mentioning. Brian Frederick, $1.99. Pelosi said she prays for a stimulus deal. Oh, that's good to know. Pelosi, she's praying. Thank God. JK, oh, yeah, that is true. If only people, in terms of the smears against me a couple years ago, if the viewers watching, a lot of it I can't even talk about legally because I'm just not able to talk about it legally. You could probably, if you think hard enough, understand why I wouldn't be able to legally talk about something based on certain things that were signed. But if progressive viewers knew even a quarter of the shit that went on in terms of people smearing me, including progressive hosts, and the efforts that people went to basically try and eliminate me from reporting, and the length certain individuals, including progressive hosts, took to capitalize and sensationalize just a lie about me. Yeah, you might not want to watch some of those shows, but people could figure out whether people are good or bad on their own. So, thoughts and prayers. Oh, Nancy Pelosi's got her refrigerator of gourmet ice cream to fall back on, right? The rest of us facing soup lines soon. Megan, new member Megan. Woohoo! Welcome, Megan, to the new media revolution. Appreciate it. 1,709 status Coup members new. By the way, I'll look after I sign off. But for those new members that just signed up at a monthly rate, you're getting a free mask. If you signed up as an annual member, you're getting a mask and a shirt. So we'll be reaching out to you to get your address to send you those items. Keep signing up. If you're on the fence, we're throwing in some new stuff for you. Statuscoup.com/join. That's statuscoup.com/join. So happy to see people signing up. And I agree. I think I need to have Steve Grumbine on a lot more. All right, a couple more before I go. They smear those they fear. Oh, haven't I learned? Haven't I learned? On the internet, man, lies travel at the speed of light. I've really learned that from personal experience. And people that you think are like progressive and good and have morals will throw you under a bus quicker than you could drive if there's something in it for them. Can we get to 710? Oh, wouldn't that be nice? If we can get to 1,710, I would be happy as a clam. Curious one. Jordan, I hope you're able to clear your bowels successfully. Ugh. My bowels. Maybe I'll do an entire live stream just on my constipation problems. It will either be the highest viewed live stream in Status Coup history or the end of the company. It's only one. It will either be the highest viewed live stream in Status Coup history, or probably lead to us going out of business. So I'd have to think on that. I don't think my fiance would like it, or Jen. Lily Rowe says, I can't drive a bus. Do you know that at the beginning of Status Coup, what I wanted to do, if we could get the money, was just buy a Winnebago and just, throw a logo on it, get good Wi-Fi in there for interviews and stuff like that, and just tour America. Justice journalism on the road. Just go city to city and cover stories no one else was, doing live streams from different cities and be on the road for like a year or two to start the company. That's what I wanted to do, but, that takes a lot of buying a vehicle, getting some help because I can't report and drive at all times. It costs money to get, Wi-Fi hooked up. Not enough magnesium, Jordan. You know what I think it is? I don't want to go like in depth on my bowel movements, but I'm on an antidepressant that I've been on for several years, and it, knock on wood, some people don't like taking antidepressants or think it's not a good idea, but for me, it's been a lifesaver. I had severe depression 5 years ago. I was hospitalized, which I told people about, and when I got on this antidepressant, it really balanced me. Not that I don't get down sometimes, but not to that level. But I think for me, everybody's different. This antidepressant caused severe constipation. And you could tell me if this is TMI, but I'm just talking to some friends here. A little poopy talk, never hurt anyone. Because before I got on this antidepressant, I never had this level of problems with going to the bathroom. So, for a while, it was what it was, and I didn't think about it. But progressively, it's gotten worse. I'm not going to go further, but to the point where it's just, I'm not going regularly enough, and it's a battle just to go. So then, you try different things. I've tried different medications, status poo. I've tried different medications. I drink a lot of water, cutting certain things out of my diet, doing all these things I've tried. So I honestly don't know, is all the things I'm trying irrelevant because the core thing is the antidepressant is causing me such blockage and constipation. So that's something, you know, I have an appointment with my psychiatrist. You know, I'm very, very hesitant to get off this antidepressant. You know, for those of you that have been in a dark place mentally and something helped you, it's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And you don't want to mess with that getting off, because like, just because you're feeling good now, well, you're probably feeling good because you're on the right medication that's helping you. So, you know, I don't want to just get off this medication. I could lower it, but right now I'm on like the lowest level for therapeutic effect. Meaning if I went lower, I'd be under the amount that they say helps therapeutically. But there's also issues if you have long-term problems going to the bathroom. Your stomach gets blocked up and your gut health. All right, I want my subscription back. Oh, I knew it. It would destroy the company. Sorry, TMI. You know, gut health is super important to overall health, and it could lead to other problems. So I'm trying different things. I appreciate. I mean, the best stream ever just had to devolve to status poop. It just had to. Listen, for your membership, you also get constipation talk. I swear we discuss Jordan's bowel movements at least once a month. I did a colonoscopy. They said everything was fine. And I got a nice $400 bill for it with health insurance. Welcome to the United Corporations of America, where they put a thing up your butt and you have to pay for it. All right. I think I've said enough about that. Eat some damn prunes. I have been eating prunes. It's funny you say that. Organic prunes. Somebody asked, how's my sleep? My sleep's been better. Jordan, don't get off until you feel ready. And even then. Thank you, Jacqueline. Gotta love eating prunes with the people. Great product placement I just did. I'm so glad Anat's not here because she'd be going wild if I was talking about this. She might be listening. She's out right now. Prunes are pretty good. Legalize pot. I agree. Did we get any more members? Let's see what our member count is at. 1,709. Okay. Can we get one more? Yes. Walking does help, so I've been doing more of that. I've been riding my bike too. Do you have to do that into the mic? I'm sorry, pirate. Excuse me. Fiber One cereal. Really strong coffee. You know, I missed your super chat. Pookie, New Jack City. Let me find it. Pookie, New Jack City. Can you please check out interview Michael A. Wood Jr.? Michael Wood Jr. Isn't that the guy who used to work at TYT? Yeah, I like Michael Wood. What's he doing these days? I could interview him. Never change, Jordan. We love your shit talk. Should I have Colin make a graphic just for status poo? By the way, I just received this in the mail. I don't know what to do with it because I don't want to remove the flag as a backdrop. Massive status coup for the backdrop. So, Jordan out of context compilation. When? Come on, we need members. Tell you what, I'm going to fund 2 members. Sending an email to info. Yes, you can sponsor new members. So if you have the means to sponsor new members, if you let us know how many members you want to sponsor, we'll match you with those that want to be sponsored. So, and if you don't know, I mean, if you haven't seen the Status Coup swag store, I mean, we got stuff for everybody. I mean, still summer. These things, you got your Status Coup shirt, tote bag, long sleeve for the fall, pillowcase, hoodie, poster, get a Status Coup mug, phone cover, workout pants, tank top, mask. I mean, the options are endless. Just endless. So, I'll put this in the... Georgie, $2. The status Jew who couldn't poo, Jordan. This is true. This is true. As I eat one more prune. Need a Status Coup Tesla. Ugh, I don't want to give Elon Musk any money. What a hypocrite. Hold on. Away from the microphone. Elon Musk, I don't think the government should give any more money to people. As I enjoy all the government subsidies I get. Oh, Case Study is here. You know what? I forgot to play that. Go follow Case Study on Twitter. He's a progressive. He is spending a lot of time clipping out clips like this bonkers clip from Larry Kudlow that made absolutely no sense. Larry Kudlow explaining Trump's executive order.
Kudlow, thank you so much for joining me this morning. I want to start with the president's claim that unemployed Americans will get $400 per week in unemployment assistance. But let's talk about what the executive action really says. Americans only get money if A, a governor asks for it, B, if the state kicks in $100 for each person each week. But many states, as you know, are really struggling to make ends meet. So let's be clear. No unemployed American is going to get an extra penny unless their governor asks for it and can afford it. Is that right?
Well, look, don't forget, please, the state unemployment benefits continue. There's no effect on what they do. And yes, you are correct. For an extra $100, we will lever it up. We'll pay 3/4, and the states will pay 25%. And I think the way this is going to work out, we have additional funds that we will repurpose for this. This is an essential item. We've tried to get it through the Democratic House for, 2 or 3 times. And it's going to be a form of economic assistance. Probably you'll get $800 total, federal and state. And if we get it going September 1st, which is what the deadline looks like, that probably give the workforce an increase in wages.
What do you mean
it's a wage increase after
total?
tax of $1,200. Well, at a minimum, we will put in $300, and the states will continue with their $400. But I think all they have to do is put up an extra $1, and we'll be able to throw in the extra $100. So it should be a total. It should be, may not be in every case, because as you know, we're talking averages. Some states higher, some states lower. But on average, Dana, it'll run to about $800. That's about $1,200.
But the executive actions.
First off, Follow Case Study on Twitter. I just put his Twitter link. He's been doing great stuff. I think he has a YouTube channel too. So if you're there, Case Study, drop in the link. He literally goes through CNN, MSNBC, CNBC. I've covered stories on here because I see the clips on his Twitter. So he's great. Cuts a lot of these clips. Watches probably far more cable news than I do, so that I don't have to. So definitely follow his Twitter where a lot of this stuff is. First of all, who needs LSD? Just watch Larry Kudlow on cable news. You don't need psychedelics anymore. Just watch Larry Kudlow. I don't know what the fuck he was talking about. Whatever executive action he's talking about makes absolutely no sense. I also don't know which states is he talking about that give over $400 a week in state unemployment. Very few. Most of them give far less than $400 in state unemployment. Then he said Trump's executive action will come down to $800 a month between state and federal. Then he said $1,200. Then he said it will go into effect September 1st. Well, what are people supposed to do from August 1st to September 1st? Just, sleep outside as they get evicted? What are they supposed to do for weeks without unemployment insurance and no more eviction moratoriums? They're going to hitchhike? I mean, made no sense, but Case Study, courtesy of his Twitter. Got a new Status Coup member. Woohoo! Robert! Holy cow! Now they're coming in. We are now at 1,700, and let me get the count right. 1,711 members. So we've gone up 8 new members. Can we get to 10 new members before I sign off? Holy cow. Remember, if you sign up today as a monthly member, you're getting a free Status Coup mask. That's right. It's not CDC certified, so I don't want anyone coming to me. Jordan, you didn't protect us. CDC has not approved these masks, but they will cover your nose and mouth. I can promise you that. Made of cotton. And if you sign up as an annual member at $179 annually, you will get a mask and a shirt. And by the way, just so you know the rules of the road, when you sign up as a member, you then go to statuscoup.com and you'll get our videos that we do just for members under member content. Let me show you. Go to our website, become a member right there, and member content is right there. As you see, I just uploaded a video just for members this morning. Me reading an email from a viewer who reprimanded me for not being biblical enough and not going to cover the explosion in Lebanon, and yelling at me for not going to cover that while choosing to cover Black Lives Matter protests. Really was one of the most bonker emails I've gotten, and I get a lot of bonker emails. How about Status Coup temporary tattoos? Ooh, that's an idea. That is an idea. By the way, Dave is right. You can sponsor new members. So if you're already a new member but have a couple extra bucks, you want to sponsor other people to become members, email us at info@statuscoup.com, info@statuscoup.com, and we will set you up to sponsor members who might want to become a member but don't have the funds right now. What else? As soon as the air restrictions lift, I'm going to Denmark. You know what? I've heard wonderful things about Denmark. Like they actually provide and care for their people. What a novel concept. Joe Biden is evil. I agree. Cryptician. We are not religious people here, and we don't mix religion with our politics. You know what? I should show you also. This is not in the Status Coup store. This was part of our original GoFundMe. I assume we could make more, but we also have, if you're going to school or need a backpack for some reason, look at that Status Coup backpack. Have you ever seen anything more beautiful? Look at that. Pretty good. Should I make more of these? Should we order more? Would you want one? I don't remember how much it cost us, but it's a possibility. There are videos on YouTube that tell you what to do when you land in Copenhagen and await your interview. Oh, by the way, if everybody could do me a favor, if you go to the front of Status Coup, I changed the first video. Well, it's not showing up now because I'm live. But the trailer right here would normally be the trailer, is now this. It's time for a media revolution, which is the new promo video that we just published. So if you could go click it after this live stream, we want to get the views up on that. It's a short promo for the channel. Appreciate it. All right. Do we have any more people that want to sign up? I'd love to get 2 more members. Get to 10 new members for the day. I could sleep well and maybe even go to the bathroom. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice? Statuscoup.com/join. Become a member for as low as $5 a month. Thank you to all the members we do have already that have already signed up. We love you. Can we make those in coral? By the way, I need to, oh, you know what? I know that viewers often have a fascination with the shorts I'm wearing. I'll show you the shorts I'm wearing. Can you see this? These are flowery, I'd say. Okay, it worked. I don't know why people never like my shorts. I think I'm very fashionable. I don't understand why people don't like my coral shorts. They're not pink, they're coral. And I'll be wearing them till the end of time. That's some gonzo style right there. Wow, camera properly aligned. Like the shorts, bro. WTF? Are you going where Argyle with print? Take your top off? Hey, I need a lot more members for that. You know, if we can get another 10 members, maybe I'd take my top off, you know? You know what they say about Hawaiian print? Pooh talk and Jordan showing his legs. Top tier journalism right here. Thank you. Love the shorts. Well, somebody mentioned coral. Yeah, I love these shorts. It's a little hard to match because there's a lot of, you know, things going on. So I need to wear a solid shirt. Right now, this doesn't match. I still go out in public not matching because I don't give a fuck. Going to be buried in shorts? I don't particularly care what I'm buried in. I'd like to be cryogenically frozen, but, you know, Jordan proposed in his coral shorts. You better believe I did. I'm so glad I'm high right now. Oh, man, I'd love to join you, honestly. It's been a while since I've been high on the swag. All right. 8 new members, not bad. I'd love to get 2 more, but, you know, you haven't come yet. Are there 2 more souls out there that want to join the coup? You know, we've talked about poo, my shorts. Please don't start wearing Hawaiian shirts to match. I don't have any. No, that's a lie. I do have a Hawaiian shirt. I have one that my brother gave me. Some people dress in non-matching colors as a fashion style. When I die, I want to be turned into a tree. Shh, your mom is here. Is my mom here? Seth Peterson, $35. Holy cow, Seth. Thank you as always. Your support is major league appreciated. Thank you, Seth. Wow, 4 o'clock. I've been live for 3 hours. Can you believe it? Canvas Dancer, $5. Even though I am on Social Security income, consider my $5 a month teeny. I think of it as a base and do super chats as I can. Also, like and share right away. Canvas Dancer, I can't ask for anything more. Thank you so much. I appreciate you supporting us, even though your budget is very tight. Thank you very much. All right, folks. I hope we could still get those two members. I'll be back tomorrow. Thank you for joining me. It's been a blast for 3 hours. Back tomorrow. And remember, most people are not lacking compassion in this country. Most people have no earthly idea what the hell is going on. Gene, $9.99. I've been 22 minutes behind on the live stream, but damn on the constipation. Go get the package I sent you and take care of your digestive issues. There's something in there that will help you. Gene, did you miss the members video where I opened your package? I posted a members video of me opening your package, and I have been using some of the things you've been sending. So thank you. And for the $9.99. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. I'll be live tomorrow, same time, around 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific. Have a good night. Bye-bye.